All the grounds, all the games, all the action. This is Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
We're still pretty early on this journey. You know, there have been shoots of progress throughout all elements, really, from the young players all the way up.
Oh, what a goal! What a finish! Ewan Henderson, top corner, lovely finish.
Everyone's trying to get that last spot in the top six. You know, first and foremost, a club of our size, with what we have, we need to stay in the division.
Goal, St Mirren, down at that bottom right-hand corner, drilled across the 6-yard box. Bacchus, at times he's run perfectly into the box.
What we want to do now is start delivering consistency in terms of wins, success, and obviously silverware that this club and the fans deserve.
We spent a lot of time out of this division in the last 40 years. We have to become a regular SPL football club, and I'm going to be boring and say get the 40 points and then see where we go from there.
Every goal, every game, every kick of the ball. Live.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome indeed from me, Richard Gordon. The action in terms of the top flight got up and running yesterday at lunchtime. Celtic opened the defence of their crown with a 4-2 victory against Ross County. There were draws at Dens Park and at the Tony Macaroni Arena. Hearts went to McDermott Park and handed St Johnstone another home defeat. And of course the big story came in the evening kick-off. You heard it live with us here on Sports Sound. Kilmarnock taking all 3 points against Rangers with an excellent performance to get their season up and running and off to a flyer. It leaves us with two further sides to get their top flight campaigns up and running for this 23-24 season. Hibernian and St Mirren will do battle here at Easter Road. 3 o'clock kick-off, full live commentary to come here on Sports Sound and BBC Radio Scotland. The commentary and the analysis to come from John Collins and Stephen McGinn. We'll hear from both of them. We'll hear from our commentator Thomas Duncan when the match gets up and running. Right now, our man pitch side, Brian McLaughlin, is with the St Mirren boss, Stephen Robinson.
A new season, Richard, and a first. A manager has brought me a cup of tea to start off the season. Stephen Robinson, first of all, thank you very much, and a happy new season to you.
The things you do to get people to say nice things, Brian?
Let's talk about the season so far then, because you're already 4 games in. You're through to the Viaplay next round. Has it gone as expected?
Well, the last 3 have, yeah. The first game, and they're sticky games. You know, we got beat against Montrose. We didn't play to our potential. It was, as I described it, a pre-season game. We got a few new signings in, everyone trying to find their way and find their form, and we've gradually got better as them games have progressed. And you know, we put a really good performance in at home against Arbroath and at home against Forfar as well. So we've got what we wanted out of it, you know. And nobody ever remember that first game if we progressed in the cup. But we feel we're ready to go. We feel we're very organised again, and we hope we've added to the squad.
Just on that, the Viaplay Cup, how do you treat it? Because there's so many times I hear so many managers saying, yeah, it's an important competition, and then you look at the lineups and there's slip-ups like yourselves against Montrose. Is it as important as the other competitions?
Listen, it is, yeah, of course, but it's a stage of the season that comes at, you know, and I can say that now that we've qualified for the next round. Last year I said it and we didn't, and I got slaughtered. So, but it's just, you know, you're coming back, you're playing players longer than you want to in that early bit of the season, so you're picking up little knocks and strains. You want to play more younger boys in the early stages of them so-called pre-season games, but they're not. You have to win. You're getting judged on them straight away, which is hard. But you know, ultimately we should win the group anyway, no matter what, with the quality we have in the squad. But as you've seen with Hibs' game away, it's, you know, football isn't played on paper. It's, you know, you've got boys playing for their lives. Their biggest game of the season, a lot of the smaller clubs. So it's probably better for the fans because it means something. But I'd like it a wee bit later on in the season, even, you know, a week leading up to the first game of the season where it starts. You know, there's things I'm sure can be looked at, but it is what it is, and we've made the best of it this year. And you know, we've got a home draw against Motherwell that hopefully we can take advantage of.
In terms of the business and the transfer market, are you finished, and how happy are you and pleased with the business that's already gone so far?
Yeah, listen, I'm pleased with what we've done. You know, we've added to our forward line, which we created a lot of chances last year and didn't take. We're hoping we're looking at our bench and we've got more options. We've got more options perhaps with changing systems as well, rather than being quite so rigid. But we must not forget what we were good at. We were very hard to break down. We were disciplined. We didn't concede many goals. As a manager, of course, you always want to add to it. We run with an 18, 19 man outfield playing squad, which is really thin. But finances dictate that, you know, and you know that when you come into the job, and you need a little bit of luck along the way with that.
In terms of the season, and it's funny, the pundits yesterday in the programme were talking about who would win, who'd struggle a little bit, and who'd be a surprise package. And there was a few names St Mirren as being a surprise package, and Chick Young actually said, I'm fed up with St Mirren being a surprise package. What are your aims this season, and what would be a good season then for St Mirren?
Yeah, and you know, I get a bit of stick about this from fans. We have to stay in the division. You know, when you look at the size of the football club and the infrastructure and the fan base, we have to try and stay in the division. That has to be our first goal. But within the dressing room, you know, we believe we can do better than that. You know, I think first and foremost, not forget what got us the stability last year. As I repeat myself, very good defensively, very disciplined. But what we've got is a great group of boys with no egos. I leave people out, I don't get any hassle. You know, you bring people off, I don't get any hassle. You've just got a group of boys fighting for each other, and when you've got that, you can massively overachieve. And to finish top 6 again or be anywhere near that, we will have to overachieve in terms of the size of the football club, but for me, not maybe in terms of the talent we have in the building.
I'm sure you watched yesterday's games. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I had them all. I think I had them all on, and I was due to go to Dundee, and then there was a cycle race on, so I couldn't get there in time after training. So I had about 4 or 5 different screens on, watching all the games. So yeah, as usual, you know, it's good to be back again. There's, you know, a couple of surprises, you know, and you're looking to see new formations, new managers, new things, you know, that are happening, new players that are in the league. So yeah, the excitement for the first game of the season, you know, that never goes away.
I'm sure you'll have watched Hibs here and possibly in Andorra as well. What have you made of the contrasting fortunes of Hibs in the last 2 games? Yeah,
and look, it proves how difficult it is. You know, you go to these places, they're like the cup games early on. You know, the pitches aren't great, you don't have a big atmosphere, you know, and you're expected to go and win the game 10-0. It never happens. You know, I don't think I had any doubt Hibs were going to win the game on Thursday night. I was here. They just too much quality and class for the Andorran team. So, you know, hopefully we can give them a tougher game than what they had on Thursday. But we know their threats. You know, Martin Boyle, a big threat, back fit again. Johan, big threat, and obviously the physical presence of Doid. So we'll know what we're facing. There'll be no great surprises, but yeah, we have to be at the top of our game. It's a difficult venue, and we have to be right at the top of our game to get something.
Appreciate your time, Stephen. Thanks once again for the tea.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Robinson looking after Brian McLaughlin much better than any of us do, that's for sure. Nice to know that Brian will be hydrated, which will keep him on his toes over the course of the afternoon, and no doubt we'll hear shortly from Lee Johnson as well. Right, Stephen McGinn, you know the club, you know St Mirren inside out. That comment from Stephen there, he said, I get a bit of stick for it, but we have to stay in the division. Is that a sensible approach at this point as the campaign is ready to get up and running?
Yeah, it is, and it's something that I get stick for when I was a club captain, because it's got to be, I think, Kilmarnock a few years ago were a reminder to every club outside of Celtic and Rangers of what can happen. Obviously finishing third under Stevie Clarke, and within a couple of years being a championship club. So it's always, as a young player, as a captain, it was always a message in the dressing room: see how quickly we can get to the 40 points and then push on from there. Very interested to see what happens with the St Mirren team in terms of how they set up. You know, they've been going with the 3-4-3. He was kind of known for his Motherwell team for having the 3 forwards narrow. I think he's trying to introduce this without giving up the defensive solidity from last year with the 5 at the back. So very interested to see what happens with that, and where maybe Greg Kiltie fits into that today. Yeah, we'll get the team news confirmed in just a moment or two, but Greg Kiltie is in the side. I think that's the only change from the last of the Viaplay Cup ties. I think he's made fewer changes than any other manager, Stephen. I think it's just 5 new faces arriving at the club over the summer. That sense of stability, is that potentially a real help for him? Yeah, I'm sure he's like other managers, he's wanting 1 or 2 more. I know I live in Renfrewshire, I know a lot of the fans that I meet are wanting 1 or 2 more bodies in. But he's bought a player, he's bought McMenamin that he knows quite well from the Irish setup, so I'm really excited to see him. I'm hearing good things about him, I'm sure they know a lot about him, because what St Mirren have never really had in the Premier League in the time I've been involved is a striker that will go and do a Kevin Van Veen, go and have a 15-20 goal plus season. Curtis Main and a Youngie were great for them last year, real focal points for the team, really hard to play against, but they've not really had that striker that maybe takes them that extra couple of places, that goes next year win with a goal out of nothing. So I'm really excited to see more of him. We'll chat much more about St Mirren. We'll get on to Hibernian in just a moment or two. It's Jamie McAllister who's doing the pre-match interview. Yeah, Lee Johnson spoke to the media quite a lot last week, so he's decided to pass on the pre-match media duties. The victim is Jamie McAllister. Sorry. How you doing? Not bad, Jamie. First of all, I want to go back to Thursday night, because terrific result, great performance.
but for the McAllister family in particular, it was a huge night. Ruben coming on, making his debut here. How proud were you as a father?
Yeah, a very proud moment. Obviously, the lads showed great character second leg to go and put on a performance and win 6-1. But to see Ruben come on the last 25 minutes was special. The lads were giving him a bit of stick on the bench. The gaffer actually pulled me and says, "Look, Mac, I think I'm going to put Ruben on." And I was like, it's up to you. So seeing him come on the pitch, and him and the other two young lads like Rudy and Jacob have been excellent over pre-season. Definitely deserved their opportunity. So it was nice to see. And my wife missed it. She was flying back from Bristol, but my two young daughters were up in the stand watching him. So very proud moment.
In terms of his abilities at such a young age, how do they compare with a Jamie McAllister at that same age?
I wouldn't even compare it to me. He's a very good footballer, football intelligent, technically very good, sees a pass and can execute a pass, and he works hard and does all the right things, so he's got a chance. It was lovely to see him get on. It was a very proud moment. So
yeah, Thursday night was quite a remarkable night in many ways, goalkeeping wise. David Marshall pulled out in the warm-up. Jojo came in, he pulled out. Max Boric came in. David Marshall again today, maybe a little bit of surprise. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay. Obviously, it was disappointing to lose Marsh. He felt his hamstring in the warm-up when he just stepped to the side. So, as a precaution, he came off. And then Jojo coming on to get his debut and then pulling his thigh after his first goal kick was disappointing. But Big Max came in and done brilliant. So, another debut. But with Marshy, we got the scan the other day and results were very positive. It looks like it's just a neuro. Very tight in his left glute and stuff. So, hopefully, nothing too serious, and the big man's good to go today.
You've gone with the same starting outfield.
Yeah.
Is that an indication then of just how pleased you were on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to change a winning team, especially after a result and performance. And I know sometimes you might have to freshen up, but we just felt we'd made 4 subs towards the end of the game to save a few, like taking Paul and Joe and that off to save their legs and Steve and stuff. So they're good to go again, and the lads have been at a tough pre-season. But they're ready to go. First game of the season, exciting, and again hopefully put on a show for the fans.
Christian George, an interesting one, obviously spent last season at Kilmarnock. Many thought he was going to be on his way out. You brought in Dylan Venti, who's, I think the work permit issue should be resolved this week. Does he still have a long-term future here at the club, Christian?
Yeah, I think Dodge's attitude has been first class since he came back in pre-season. He's worked his socks off with the rest of the lads. He's a favourite around the dressing room. He's a great lad, great character, and as you see his performance the other night, he's a proper number 9, can hold it, can link it, gets goals, and he's a threat in the box aerially as well. So he could be a big player for us this year, and it's great to see him back at his best. Obviously with the loss of Kevin Nisbet, who had huge goals last season as well with Dylan Venti, so you do have real competition there now. Oh, it's great competition all over, which I think the squad's stronger this year, and you see the subs coming on the other day, but bringing on the quality we had, and also the 2 or 3 that were still on the bench. So strength and depth. It's a real headache for the gaffer and us as staff, and it's good going into the new season with limited injuries and exciting off the back of a good win. So looking forward to another home win. I know you've got Luzerne here on Thursday night, but this is the bread and butter. It has to start today, doesn't it? This is the bread and butter, and St Mirren, like they showed last year, a top 6 finish, are very organised, very disciplined, and very well-oiled machine. Difficult to break down, hard to beat, and a threat on the counter with the front 2. So we're going to have to be at our best defensively and then try and pose problems at the end of the pitch. Thanks, Jamie. Good luck. Thanks very much, Brian. Cheers.
Jamie McAllister, a proud dad on Thursday night when young Ruben got his debut, and on pre-match duties this afternoon. That was a hugely important 90 minutes for them, John, on Thursday, wasn't it? That in the end a very, very comfortable victory against their inferior opposition.
Well, obviously from the previous week's poor performance, it was complete opposite. It was an exciting performance. The early goals gave the players confidence, and they just grew as the game went on. They could have scored more goals. Great for the supporters, turned up and they were ready to moan, I think, but the early goal calmed the supporters and they got behind the team. Christian Doyle is an important one. I thought he did very well. He's a player I've always liked since he's been here, and he had that Achilles snapped Achilles, that set him back, and when he first came back he looked like he had lost his spring, but looking at him the last few games, looks like he's got his spring back. He's always had a terrific attitude. He's always makes himself available for midfielders, whether it's into feet or if it's a high ball. He looks like he's no chance of getting it. He stretches the neck out, brave, gets the flick-ons. So I think you've got to keep him at the club. He's saying he's good in the dressing room as well, so I think he's a player you would want to keep in and around the squad, even if he's not going to be a starter. But for me, key for Hibs, 2 wide players, Boyle coming back.
Well, I was thinking that. I think it's 9 new signings, and you should say Doidge returning to the club, but probably the key figure is Martin Boyle, isn't it, being back fit again?
It is, and he brings so much to the team. He's got enthusiasm, he excites the fans, he runs in behind. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say he's a great player, but he's a really, really important player for this Hibs team. And on this big pitch, it's so good to have pace at the top of the pitch. And what Hibs have, and Martin Boyle on one side and Johan on another, they have electrifying pace. So I think that's going to be the big asset this season. Those two staying wide, stretching back 4s or back 5s. And in the middle of the pitch, Joe, you've seen him during the week. That left peg, he can play those penetrating diagonal passes for players that are prepared to run in behind.
Stephen, you get players who just fit a certain club and certainly have that immediate rapport, I suppose, with the supporters and the fans. Clearly, they love Martin Boyle here. Was he almost like the talisman for this Hibs team, and can his return make a big improvement for them this season?
Huge. I think the first game you look at when you think of Martin Boyle was the semi-final against Rangers when he scores a hat-trick. When you think of what Martin Boyle can do to teams, he can just take the game away from teams, like he did the other night. I know you're playing against poorer opposition, but in a split second, just his pace, he's just so dangerous all the time. He can just take the game away from you. Just going back to Christian Doidge, I spoke to Christian Doidge just before he went to Kilmarnock. Having just left Kilmarnock, he'd asked me a few things about the club and the manager. And one of the things I said to Christian Doidge was, look, Derek McInnes is brilliant with dealing with those types of strikers. You got guys like Sam Cosgrove going. Even my time, Kyle Lafferty came in the building, and he just simplified the game for him. And I thought at times here with Christian Doidge, with the pressure of playing for Hibs, sometimes he thought he needed to run the channels, to score 20 goals, to hold it up, to link the play, everything. I think when he went to Kilmarnock, he played up there with Vassell, and Derek McInnes, I know how he likes his strikers to play. Just do what you're good at, be a focal point, win your headers, be in the box, be a good partner. And I look at this Hibs team now, and I think there's a real part to play for Christian Doidge in this team. You get goals with Ewan, you get goals with Boyle, you get goals with Campbell. Christian Doidge can knit that all together by being the focal point and just playing between the sticks.
Going to be a big afternoon ahead as these two get their league campaigns up and running. Some 40 minutes or so until the action begins. Full live commentary coming this year on Sports, and it's Thomas Duncan who is going to be describing all the action. Let's just get confirmation of the two lineups.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. Confirmation of the teams, just one change of piece really. Hibs with that change, as Brian mentioned, David Marshall, who pulled out in the warm-up against Interclub Descaldes, with Jojo Walcott then going off 18 minutes into his debut. It was a bit of a calamitous night in the goalkeeping front. Max Boruc came in and did well, so Marshall is back in, fit to go in goals in front of the back four of Del Ferrier, who's playing at right back. I don't think it is his natural position, but he looked fairly solid there here on Thursday night. It will be a challenge though, big step up in quality of opposition. Inside him, Will Fish and Paul Hanlon, Lewis Stevenson in his usual left back berth, Joe Newell, Jake Doyle-Hayes, with Josh Campbell in front of them in the midfield. Boyle and Ewan either side of Christian Doidge, as the guys have been mentioning. In the bench, Boruc, Lewis Miller, Dylan Levitt, Jimmy Jego, Adam Lafondra, Riley Harbottle, Jordan Obita, Elias Melkerson and Ruben McAllister. No Dylan Ventutt, the signing from Roda, who Hibs have paid a bit of money for, scored a lot of goals in the second tier over in the Netherlands, his native country, but he's still finalising a work permit, some issues with that, so he's out of the squad today. But I'm sure the fans here at Easter Road will be keen to see what he can bring. They need to replace those goals of Kevin Nisbet, of course, but Martin Boyle a big boost, and Hibs looking for more consistency this season. They actually won fewer games than they lost last season and still finished fifth, conceded more goals than they scored. So there's statistics there that they really need to change, and here's a chance to begin. St Mirren, what a season they had. Best finish since 1985, and it's a consistent looking side. Richard, as you mentioned, Zach Hemming, one of the new signings in goal, with Trevor Carson, of course, moving on to Dundee. Marcus Fraser, Gogic dropping in with Charles Dunn, not quite fit enough to start. He's on the bench. He's in defence with Richard Taylor. That's a back three. Ryan Strain, Scott Tanzer on the flanks. Midfield of O'Hara, who had obviously a sensational season last season on the goal scoring front with 12 goals. He's the captain, in alongside Keanu Bacchus, McMenamin and Kiltie, either side of Mikael Mandron, another one of the signings who's joined after a spell at Motherwell last season. The bench are Minsky, Bolton, Dunn, Flynn, Caelan Boyd-Munce, Olasanya, Jameson, Alex Grieve and Stav Nakamani, the signing from Maccabi Haifa on loan. And interesting one, Richard, that Stephen Robinson has never won here at Easter Road. 8 attempts, both as manager of Motherwell and St Mirren, not a single victory, and he's also never won on the opening day of the season, so we'll see if he can change both those statistics this afternoon.
Gotta love commentators, haven't you? Brilliant.
You've got to get them in somewhere.
Poor Stephen, what a nightmare. Well, let's hope for his sake that he's a bit happier than he has been on every other opening day during his managerial career. Actually, I was talking about the fact that there's a lot of stability in that St Mirren side. You look at that Hibs team, John. I said 9 new signings, but Will Fisher's returned for a second loan, and Ellie Yuan's loan spell has now been made permanent. But that is a very familiar Hibs starting 11, isn't it?
It is, and obviously he's been watching them all in pre-season. He's got the new boys in. He obviously wants to go with the boys he knows, and they've obviously done well in pre-season, fairly well. But sometimes it takes time for new signings to adapt, new environment, new system, new tactics. So you'll probably see the new signings coming into the team in the coming months. But it tells you he trusts him. He knows what he's going to get from the front three there. Johan's the one who, on his day, he can be exciting. He can terrorise defences, and on other days you think, has he played football before? He has got talent. That is decision making. If he can get his decision making better, then he can prove a real handful for certainly Scottish defences.
Actually, he seems to be one of those streaky players. He'd a run where he was just scoring goals week in, week out, and then he just disappears off the face of the planet.
And he always, as a manager, he's one of those players that frustrates you, and as a supporter, you don't know what you're going to get. You're hoping he's going to be on fire, running, knocking the ball past fullbacks, because his pace is unbelievable. Sometimes he tries to be too clever, flicks and step overs and pullbacks, and you're thinking, just knock it past the fullback and use your speed. And the fullback won't live with you, but every now and again he tries to step over too much fancy stuff. But he proved during the week there exactly what he's good at. He gets the ball in the wide area, just knocks it past the guy, uses his pace and smashes it into the top corner. And secondly, gets to the byline, cuts it back perfectly for Josh Campbell's goal. So more of that for the Hibs fans, and the manager and everybody will be very happy with him.
Yeah, talking about the manager, talking about the fans, Stephen, but as players, when you've got someone like that in your team, I mean, it must drive you nuts, not knowing, look, is it worth me making this pass? Which one are we going to see today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the coach's job to try and show him. I think Martin Boyle's a great example for LSU, and what he did the other night for Josh Campbell's goal is something Martin Boyle does regularly. I mean, he very rarely disappoints. If he gets a chance to open up his legs and use his pace, he won't disappoint. He'll get to the byline. He'll go direct for goal. And I think if Yuan does introduce that more to his game, he's going to go up a few levels.
You mentioned Josh Campbell there, and he's really come to the fore in the last couple of seasons, I guess. Is he potentially the next one in this I don't know if it's quite a conveyor belt, but certainly the line of players that Hibernian have produced and then sold on?
Yeah, and he's forced his way into this team. You know, he's had a couple of loan spells where he's did very well, but in my time here under Jack Ross, he came back so fit, super fit, really aggressive in training, and I think his performances show that. And what he's become for Hibs is a big goal threat. You know, he's always in the box, and he's a really good finisher. So fair play to him. He wasn't one that was marked down. He's definitely going to come through here at Hibs. He's going to be a key player, but he's certainly turned into one.
He's got the right attitude, John, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think his biggest asset is his physicality. He's got terrific fitness levels, good legs, arrives in the box, players are getting tired and he's still fresh. He's got to work maybe a little bit, tidy up in his technical work. Sometimes he can give the ball away, but if he develops that side of his game, then he's got a chance, because goal-scoring midfielders, every manager in the country is looking for them. And what he's going to get with two wide players in the wider areas, maybe getting to bylines, if he's arriving late in the box, then he'll have lots of chances stepping in, side footers into the back of the net. But he's proved in the last couple of years he's capable of scoring goals. If he keeps developing, then he's got a chance of moving on.
Very prolific from midfield last season. You look at the other side, and Mark O'Hara clearly falls into that category. Another player who, I mean, I would have thought for most people probably exceeded expectations last season.
Yeah, I mean, he's a local boy, but he's really became a bit of a talisman for St Mirren. You know, penalty taker. He's the one the St Mirren fans look to in tight games, to almost like the striker, as he's the match winner. But he's really embraced the role of captain, and as I said, some clubs are just a real good fit for him. He's moved about a bit. He moved down to England, didn't quite happen for him, but he's gone up a few levels at St Mirren, and as I said, really embraced the role of being the club captain, being a local boy, and the pressures that bring. And I think he's St Mirren's most important player.
He's also, if you think back, he's also made a real impact against the big teams. He's scored against Celtic, he's scored against Rangers. He's clearly got a lot of self-belief.
Yeah, we're just even going playing against him. Years ago, we speak about Josh Campbell there and arriving late into the box. That was something he did as a young player. He's tidied up aspects of his game, and he's a real physical presence. And when he gets into the box, the best teams in the country, as you say, they struggle with him. He scores a header against Celtic last year, and they're win. He's a real threat when he gets in the box, and he's very aggressive with it.
Yeah. John, player you like?
He's consistent. He sits in the middle of the park. He can play passes, but as we've just talked about before with Josh Campbell, midfield players that can score goals, key goals against the big teams. That's why he's endeared himself to the support. When you score against the big boys, they love it and they don't forget it. So Hibs will have to keep an eye on him today, that's for sure.
Well, let's just we'll move on. We'll look back at yesterday's action. Just to be keen to get your thoughts, guys, on just the serious, the genuine expectations that both these clubs can have for the campaign ahead. So we'll start with the home team. John, I think you touched on it, you both touched on it, in fact, the need for consistency. A lot of new faces are in there. It seems to me there have been a few kind of almost false dawns for Hibs in the last few seasons, and never quite kicks on to that next step. So where do you think they are? Where do you think they should be in terms of the pecking order this season?
Well, I think look at the stadium, look at the training ground, the amount of supporters they get in here. I think Hibs have got to be, their ambition's got to be third place, and they'll be fighting with Aberdeen and Hearts. Similar budgets, similar size clubs, so that's the target. Hibs finishing third is equal, in my opinion, probably winning the league. Minimum's top 6 European places. That's where Hibs have got to be. It's not easy, but that's a challenge for the manager. I think that's the demand, and that's what the supporters expect as well. And I'm sure the board of directors, the owner, that's what he wants. They all want third. That's the target. You've got to have you've got to win your home games. If you want to finish third, you've got to have a good home record. Every team that's in and around your Hearts and your Aberdeens come here, Hibs have got to be beating them. Old Firm games, now and again you're going to get a result against them, but in general you're not going to get 3 points. But this is going to be a tough place for teams to come. They've got to be able to score goals, get the fans behind them. The fans are support are so important here. If you get off to a good start, the fans are with you, but they can be the exact opposite if you're off to a bad start. And the more in, they can get on the players' back. So what they need today is an ideal start. Every manager wants you want a home draw against a team that's beatable. Hibs have got it today. They've got to go in here, start the game really well, and get that first goal. Because, as I say, when Hibs players score goals, they get confidence. If the opposition score a goal here, often you see players shrinking, and 1 or 2 starts hiding, and all of a sudden it all falls to pieces. So it's important. One, you've got brave players on the pitch that never hide, but that first goal, you've got to come out the traps here, try and get that early goal.
It's very, very early, and a number of these players we've seen next to little, I suppose, all in terms of what they potentially can give to Hibs. But if you look at the Hibs squad and you shape that up against Aberdeen, shape that up against Hearts, are they capable of mounting a serious challenge over the course of the 10 months of the campaign?
I think that question will probably be answered after 4 games. I think the first month will tell you, have the new players come in and hit the ground running? Is the new striker Vent? Is he come in? Is he scoring goals? And we'll have to judge the new players in, I would say, 2 months. You can't judge them in 2 games. But now I think they've got a good, strong squad. They've certainly got plenty of numbers in the building. Time will tell. I think they need to keep key players fit. I think Martin Boyle, over the years, he's went out with injuries, and managers have really struggled without him. And too many managers have lost their jobs when he's not been playing. He's that important to the team. He goes out of the team and a manager goes out the door 6 months later. So you need to keep your key players fit. And I would think Martin Boyle was the number 1, and Joe Newell in the middle of the park. He's a player. I think he's got better every month that he's been here. He's got better, more confidence, and he's the key player in midfield. I do like Doyle Hayes as well. I think he sits there, doesn't give the ball away, works hard, always wants the ball. Full-back area, they've still got Ray Stevenson. They've tried to replace him for a number of years with full-backs coming in left, right and centre, but Lewis has been there, seen them off, and here he is again starting the season, starting left back, but he never lets the team down.
Well, they've been looking for them all, I guess, to put in those consistent seasons. Stephen, your assessment of Hibs and what they can genuinely hope for this season?
Well, I think it's a genuine belief that they can finish third. I think mid to front, it's really exciting times for the Hibs fans, and a lot of good players, a lot of good options in the bench. What worries me, really looking at just in a negative, is probably starting the season with young Del Ferrier at right back. You know, I played against him. He was out on loan at Edinburgh last year, and he was kind of an attacking midfielder. And I'm looking at him thinking, how has it got to the stage where he's starting the season for Hibs at right back? So a couple of defensive issues, if there's any injuries to Will Fisher, Paul Hanlon. Is Rocky Bashiri good enough to finish third in the league with the strength of Aberdeen and Hearts? So, but no doubt in my mind, mid to front, that they could finish third. It's just the defensive areas I'm not quite sure.
We're getting an indication, I guess, this afternoon as to what kind of solidity Lee Johnson can find. Certainly, I think we're all expecting them to be an exciting prospect going forward. From the St Mirren point of view, we touched on this, we touched on Stephen's comments there. You'll probably remember, Stephen, I think the last time the club got promoted and Tony Fitzpatrick was on Sports Sound saying we're a top 4 club, and Chit Young just about expired in the stand. I think at the very thought of that. I mean, it's a kind of tag. Look, it's an aspirational quote, I suppose. But was it a kind of tag that hung around the club a little bit until it settled down?
Maybe, but I mean, Tony's a breath of fresh air. There's no
absolutely.
Honestly, and the first person I text when St Mirren got into the top 6 was Tony Fitzpatrick, and I know what it meant to him. A bit of a blow. I did think there was a wee bit of an opportunity to get the club back into European football last year, with the way everyone in the league was just beating each other, and I thought St Mirren were in a good place. I don't think the injury to Ayunga helped. I think that cost them a few points in the end up. But as I said earlier, I echo Stephen Robinson's comments, because that was the belief at St Mirren every season, never to get too carried away with what you can achieve before you get that 40 points mark. Once you start to pull away, because it's really hard to win games in this league. But on the positive side, the more glass half full, the more Tony Fitzpatrick way of looking at it, you're looking to finish top of what is a kind of 17 league. The top 5, if they get the house in order, they do their business properly, it's very hard to finish above any of them. But if you can finish top of that top 17 league, then you've done your job. That's winning your league. So, and also the other thing is St Mirren fans haven't been at Hampden for a long time. Obviously didn't get out the group stage last season, got through it this year. Obviously got to the semi-final during the COVID season, which wasn't ideal for the fans. So there's definitely a thought, and the guys like Mark O'Hara's thoughts, that can I captain St Mirren to Hampden with the backing of the Paisley St Mirren fans.
Yeah, I mean, what a prospect that would be for the Paisley fans. They did it last season, John. Do you see them as favourites to be top of that 7? In other words, that place in the top 6?
Well, I've got to be honest, I really like the manager. I think he's calm. He talks a lot of sense when the team's not going through a great period. He's got that calmness. He transmits it to his players, and I think his teams have got that steely determination. It obviously comes from him. He signs a certain type of player. He likes players that work hard, listen to his instructions. I wouldn't say they're the most attacking and flamboyant team, but as he says, they've got to be hard to beat, and that's been the key. They haven't conceded a lot of goals. I think they want to finish in the top 6. That'll be the ambition. I think top 6 is a really successful season for St Mirren, and I think they won't want to be caught up in that relegation battle. That's when it's tough for everybody at the club, fans, players, staff. You want to keep away from that, so a good start keeps you away from them. Everybody at the club can relax, and I think all those teams down in the bottom 6, you want a cup run. Cup runs are great for the supporters and players, and nothing better than getting to a semi-final and finals. But that's the dream. But those dreams come true. I think we've had it in the past, so they can have it again.
Well, of course, they kicked off the season losing to Montrose. Since then, it's been those 3 straight wins, 3 straight clean sheets. They've got a place in the knockout stages against Motherwell to look forward to. And this is St Mirren about to kick off their Premiership campaign. Hibernian also, horrible, wasn't it? Absolutely horrible in Andorra. But they cut loose on Thursday night, banged in the 6 goals. They're through in Europe. And they too about to get their Premiership season up and running. Just over 20 minutes to kick off. Full live commentary. Hibernian against St Mirren coming up live here on Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland, where yesterday we brought you all the action from the 5 games, which spanned the afternoon, didn't it? Right away from 12:30 kick-off at Celtic Park through to the conclusion at Rugby Park. You heard every kick of the ball right here on BBC Radio Scotland. But the last voice you heard there, of course, Michael Beale, the Rangers manager. We'll come to that evening kick-off in just a moment or two. Just reflecting on the afternoon, I think it's fair to say Stephen Craigan's obviously been locked up all summer and couldn't wait to get going again for open all mics and the new football season. Loving life at Dens Park there in that 1-1 draw between Dundee and Motherwell. And of course, Kenny summed it up, a terrible game apparently at Ammanvale. I've heard that from various people who were at that match as well. And the wins for Hearts. And for Celtic at lunchtime, John, important, especially being at home, Flag Day. New manager, of course, some new signings, albeit didn't see an awful lot in terms of the starting lineup in that respect, but just big for the champions that they got the 3 points to kick things off.
Well, they'll be delighted with the 3 points. It was a really poor start from Celtic. Ross County are very good. Could have had a couple of goals first 15 minutes. And the reality is, against Celtic or Rangers, you've got to take your chances when they come along in Celtic Park. They never took their chances in typical Celtic up the park, into the box. You know, after the first time they went in the box, then they got the penalty, soft penalty, but it was a penalty. And then Celtic came alive after that. All of a sudden, you see another gear. All of a sudden, they were darting about instead of jogging about. Everybody wanting the ball, and then bang, 2-3. But they'll be disappointed. Celtic conceding the 2 goals. Brendan will not be happy about that. You want clean sheets, you want goals. The last thing you want to be doing is conceding sloppy goals towards the end of the game. But 3 points, and obviously what makes the 3 points all the sweeter is when the result comes through from Kilmarnock, and that makes it an extra special night from Brendan and the Celtic supporters and players. But long way to go.
Well, certainly, just a sense of relief, I guess, for Brendan Rodgers. I mean, I heard the discussing yesterday in the programme, and he was talking about himself. He always believes he's got something to prove. I mean, given his record the last time he was here, Stephen, that seems almost fantastical to suggest he's got something to prove. But I guess he does, coming in off the back of what was clearly a very successful manager too in Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, I thought it was a strange day yesterday, obviously with Brendan Rodgers' first league game back, but I also felt a lot like Ange Postecoglou's very first Celtic team. When you think of O'Reilly and Turnbull, Abada and Maida with Kyogo up front, even Taylor and Ralston at the back. It's probably quite a strange period for Celtic, because I'm looking at these players that have come in, they don't know hardly anything about. Only Naroki comes into the team, with obviously Starfelt going. But there was parts of it, obviously the first 15 minutes where I thought Ross County were excellent, really took the game to Celtic and probably should have been ahead, but there is parts of it where you do start to associate the Brendan Rodgers team. Kyogo obviously playing a bit deeper with runners in behind. I'm thinking long term, could that be something maybe? I know Maida impressed through the middle during the season, during pre-season. I wonder if in the season at times maybe Maida plays maybe through the middle with Kyogo dropping in, because you saw the quality he's got when he drops in, and unbelievably you're thinking that Brendan Rodgers can come in and improve Kyogo. How can you improve in Kyogo? Well, yesterday was good signs of that.
Yeah, and also good signs from a Ross County point of view. I mean, they pulled off the most incredible escape act, of course, at the end of last season. But actually, just listening to the game yesterday and also just looking at the signings they've made, Malcolm Mackay looks to have improved that score, doesn't he?
Well, Malky, a manager, he's my manager, he signed me for Watford. I know how good a manager he is, I love playing for him. You know how he wants to approach the game, and his game plan was take the game to Celtic, let's try and unnerve them. There is a wee bit of the fans aren't sure about what's happening, what signings are going to come in and improve this team. Let's take the game to them, and they certainly did that. And as I said, I don't know if Simon Murray slips. I don't think it's quite a penalty, but if you're one of the Ross County players or management staff, you're thinking just put it in. Don't think about a penalty. Just put that in the net, and we're off to an amazing start in the new season.
I think watching the game, I think Ross County surprised, the tactics surprised probably the whole of Scotland. Everybody was sitting in front of their television sets. They expected Ross County to sit off, don't concede an early goal. It was the exact opposite. All credit to Malky. Brave tactics, and probably should have paid off. They deserved a goal in that early period. And the unsettled Celtic were giving the ball away. However, they never took their chances. But Malky, I think when he analyses the game, a lot of positives from Ross County's performance yesterday. 0 points, but 2 goals at Celtic Park, and put them under pressure first 15-20 minutes. So I don't think they'll be in the bottom.
No.
2 or 3 this
I
season.
think that was the feeling generally
Looking at
yesterday.
that 90 minutes.
Yeah, everybody felt that they would potentially have a strong campaign ahead. Dundee back up in the top flight. We heard Stephen there at the game. 1-1, got to say Lyle Cameron just continues to catch the eye. An outstanding young player. He got the equaliser. As you heard from Stephen, it was Theo Bayer who got his first Motherwell goal. Tony Docherty said afterwards, not often you're pleased, Stephen, with a home draw, but actually to be back up in the top flight, first game of the season. And Motherwell are still, they've maintained that form from the second half of last campaign under Stewart. So overall, a decent enough point for both.
Yeah, I don't think both managers would have been too disappointed with the point. Probably, from speaking to Paul, obviously playing for Motherwell in the game, he was certainly not disappointed with a point. He says we could have won it, but we definitely could have lost it. So, and a Dundee point of view, what the really exciting thing is some of the young players, not just Lyle Cameron, Luke McCowan looked excellent yesterday, and I really like Josh Mulligan. At time, I mean, we played against him last season. He actually reminded me like playing against my brother John. The way he drove through the midfield and almost unstoppable at times once he get going. I know that's big praise, but I rate him really highly. And I think in Tony Docherty, they've got a manager that's going to really back them and put them in, and he won't be scared to introduce them to some of these big stadiums and really have a go.
Yeah, fantastic to see Tony getting the chance, and it'll be really interesting to see how he does. We heard from Barry Robson there in the wake of that goalless draw at Amon Vale, John. I don't think he'll be the last away manager who will be bemoaning potentially both the Livingston tactics, but certainly the pitch there at the Tony Macaroni.
Well, it sounded like it was a stinker of a game. Thankfully I wasn't there. But it's never an easy venue, is it? You go there, you get the AstroTurf's not the best, but sometimes I think some players and some teams use that as an excuse. You've still got to go there and play football. You've got to win your 50-50s, you've got to play your passes, you've got to back into your shape. But I hear a lot of managers complaining about the surface, but it's never an easy venue. Livingston the last 2-3 years, he has done an outstanding job on a small budget, and as a manager you love it when the opposition managers and players say that they don't look forward to coming. It's a little thing in the back of their mind, so there's always already that negative seed is planted before you even arrive at the stadium, so that's a bonus for Livingston. Back there again, their challenge will be to stay in the league. If they can finish in the league, that's a success. Small budget, small crowd.
Yeah, it's not David Martindale's job for these teams and managers to come and enjoy playing, and part of it, I know I've been there, part of what you speak about in team meetings and plans for the season is dealing with the challenge of going to places like Livingston. And at the end of the season, maybe when you look back, saying what a great point that was, what a great win that was at Livingston, because it's not enjoyable. It's not like come here and playing on an amazing big surface. It's really tough, and sometimes the win there at Livingston, you can really dig it out as a team and grind it out. Sometimes that's the best win of the season.
Yeah, a couple of late goals for Hearts, big win for them to start things off. But John, it's been a terrible start to the campaign for St Johnstone and for Stephen McLean.
Yeah, they've struggled obviously in the cup, disappointing results. They struggled to get players in the door. He's been talking in recent weeks, he's still trying to get players in to make the squad better, and I'm sure this week they'll be looking to get 1 or 2 in. I think they do need help. A disappointing start to the season, home defeat. So I think it's going to be a long, hard season for St Johnstone.
And of course the evening kick-off, listening in to the commentary, it sounded like it was an outstanding Kilmarnock performance. Stephen, you talked about Derek McInnes. I mean, he knows the game, doesn't he? He knows how to. It doesn't always work out against the big sides, but my goodness, it worked out for Killie yesterday.
Yeah, it was a Derek McInnes performance. You know, I played in a few of them under him, and you could almost hear the message from before the game. That might be a good Rangers team at some point, but it's not quite a Rangers team yet. Let's get after them. Let's be really aggressive. Let's run them. Let's challenge them. Let's win our aerial battles. If it goes out for a throw-in, make them defend. Let's see if they'll win the first header in the box, they'll win the second ball. And everything that's good about a Derek McInnes team is in that Kelly team. And I think we speak about dark horses. I get asked during the week about who might be the dark horse. He's very slowly going about recruiting a lot of players that he really knows and trusts. Guys like Mally Watkins, Kennedy. I know Kyle McGuinness, having played with him twice, how big a player he can be if you keep him fit. I mean, at one point at St Martin, we were looking at him being as probably maybe our best young player. But injuries have kind of held him back. If they can keep him back, what a sign that is. And in the midfield area, we speak about young players being given a chance. Davy Watson was thrown into a really struggling Kilmarnock team last season, and he flourished, he grabbed it with both hands, and he looked like a seasoned professional getting after those Rangers players yesterday. So I think the Kilmarnock fans have a lot to be excited about.
Just quickly down to Brian, down pitch side, because I think there's been a late change to the team lineups, Brian?
Yeah, I think there is something about Easter Road this season. Obviously, Richard, we had it on Thursday night with David Marshall. This time it's St Mirren. Michael Mandron has pulled up possibly a thigh strain in the warm-up, and Toyoso Olasanya looks as if he's going to be taking his place in the starting 11. I'm still waiting to find out actually if they'll be replacing Olasanya on the subs bench, but yeah, Mandron certainly injured, and Olasanya will start for St Mirren.
Okay, I mean that's just horrible, isn't it? As a manager, you've done everything, you've worked through the week, you've done your warm-up, and then especially, I guess, such a key player as the man who's leading the line.
Yeah, especially when it's not a like for like either. You know, Mandron's a physical target man, Olasanya's all about his pace and running him behind, so potentially the game plan's changed at quite a late stage. So as I said, I'm interested to see if with Celtic coming back in the team, whether they go to a 3-5-2 or maybe stick with a 3-4-3 they've been playing through the League Cup campaign, and even in that whether the Olasanya introduction changes it.
Right, John, just come back to that final game, and then we'll set things up for the match here. The final game yesterday, talked about Kilmarnock, and a wonderful afternoon for them. And I've got to say, just listening to the commentary, you talk about the atmosphere in places. The atmosphere just was buzzing through from Rugby Park. The Kilmarnock fans absolutely loving it. Not so the Rangers fans. It is very early days, but you know how unforgiving it is at these big Glasgow giants. These new players are going to have to find their feet quickly, aren't they?
Well, they realise now that a big club with high expectations this week will be keeping their heads low in Glasgow. They won't be walking down Sackey Hall Street smiling. But that's it. Reality kicked in. First game of the season for the manager, new player squad. Really disappointing start from Rangers' point of view. Kilmarnock, magnificent. Really, really good. New players, a new city, new tactics, new environment. It's not as easy as people think. Celtic signed a lot of players, but they never started the game. One starter of Celtic signings, Rangers 4 at the top of the pitch. Players at the top of the pitch, you need to know your strengths and weaknesses, your teammates, their habits, do they cut it back, their moves. So Michael Beale's going to have to calm everybody down this week. Lucky they've got a big midweek game in Europe to bounce back, get back to winning ways, but a disappointing start for Rangers.
Well, you say lucky, but I mean, if Servette come and cause them problems, then it could be a very, very challenging, demanding evening for those Rangers players again. Well,
that's the reality when you're playing for Rangers. You want to be playing in Europe, you're going to be playing in big games, you're under the microscope, everybody's assessing you week in, week out. It's not like down the bottom of the league, Celtic and Rangers, you're in the back pages, front pages. So I think the manager will be delighted. There's a big midweek game to bounce back. The last thing is waiting 7 days and everybody's on edge and everybody's moaning. Wednesday night, put it right, score a few goals and put them in a good situation for the second leg.
Well, that match is the Champions League. It's the third qualifying around Rangers Servette. It is live on Sports Scene, so Sports Scene live 7:30 on Wednesday and live on Sports Sound as well. And there'll be live action on Thursday too on the telly. Hibernian against Luzerne. The programme Sports Scene on at 7:30 and live coverage on Sports Sound on the radio as well. Rosenborg against Hearts, Hibernian against Luzerne. So a big midweek ahead, all the action with this here on Sports Sound and BBC Radio Scotland. Quickly down to Brian, changing the bench as well then for St Mirren.
I just had a quick word with Stephen Robinson there. They are making a change on the bench. Luke Kenny will come on as a youngster, he'll be on the bench. Olasanya will start the game. Mandron is out with an injury.
Okay, Brian, thank you. The sun is shining here in Leith. The ground staff just one or two running repairs to what looks like a magnificent pitch following the warm-up, and the players will be gathering in the tunnel in the next few minutes. And no doubt, Stephen, they'll be having that real sense of excitement. Yes, they've both been involved in action this season, the Hibs players in Europe, the St Mirren players in the Viaplay, but this is the big one, isn't it? And you always look forward, I guess, to the start of the new league season.
Yeah, start of the new league season and playing here. Yeah. The pitch is so big, it's looking amazing. You know you're going to get touches of the ball, you're going to get chances to play. So just the excitement, and probably watching all the results come in yesterday and thinking about if we can get off to a good start tomorrow, then where it puts us. So just all the buzz of the season starting before the negativity kicks in.
Well, that is the one guarantee that there will be in Scottish football. Controversy, all sorts going on, but there will be negativity, there's no doubt about that over the course of the season. Big home support, John, you touched on that, the atmosphere, the expectation, the clamour for success there is here at Easter Road, and you see that, don't you, in the numbers that are turning out.
It looks like there's going to be a terrific crowd. I think it's nearly sold out, obviously behind the goals away end. St Mirren have brought a decent little crowd, but it's a terrific stadium. This is a really superb stadium, and now the pitch is immaculate. The players will be coming out that tunnel absolutely buzzing. And from a Hibs point of view, you want an early goal, just like they did in midweek. Can they get that early goal? Because there's no doubt St Mirren will be sitting in behind the ball deep, killing the space for Hibs' pace. But what kills tactics, defensive tactic, is an early goal conceded. So Hibs, can they get that early goal? Set pieces are important as well. Good deliveries into the box.
I think St Mirren might have spoke about maybe getting the early goal, obviously off the back of European game, how the Andorran team started the other night. I think that's something they might try and take the game early to Hibs and try and catch them. Instead of maybe just sitting there and waiting for Hibs to get their touches, the good players getting touches, the ball getting comfortable, I think St Mirren might go after them off the back of that European game.
Well, when I was coaching, whenever I went away from home, the tactics, the message to the players was, can we get a hold of the ball? Can we get possession and silence the crowd? The home crowd hate that when the opposition have the ball early in the game. So I'm sure Stephen, maybe he's saying that, get a hold of the ball, be brave and frustrate the crowd, get the crowd turning.
It is our first opportunity of the season to get all important league points and grabs up for grabs. They will have both sides will have their expectations, their targets that they will be looking to meet over the course of the campaign. And I guess you cannot underestimate the importance, Stephen, of getting a positive result, getting a victory if you can on day one. It kind of feeds, I guess, into training the following week. It feeds into the next game, and you can get some kind of momentum up and running.
Yeah, well, every team I've ever played with, you come back from pre-season, everyone's positive, there's a bit of a clean slate. The pre-season friendlies and training all seems to go like clockwork, and then you get into the season and all the targets, all the plans you spoke about, if you can get off to a great start, just the momentum that gathers. Whereas if you start that season, the first game, and it doesn't happen, you aren't quite at it for whatever reason, all of a sudden a lot of question marks comes in. The fans, the club start to think, do we need to do a wee bit more business here? So it's just lovely to get off to a good start and really start to kind of attack the season with momentum.
There is a sense of expectation, as John mentioned. Really good travelling support through from Paisley to shout on St Mirren, and Saints, having bounced back from that opening Viaplay Cup defeat against Montrose, have been in fine form. Those 3 successive wins, 3 successive clean sheets. They've got their high hopes for the campaign. So do Hibernian, as the 2 captains, Paul Hanlon and Mark O'Hara, lead the sides out to a rapturous reception here at Easter Road. All the fans, or most of the fans, up on their feet applauding as we await for the action to unfold in this final Premiership encounter for the weekend. All up and running, of course, in terms of the SPFL generally on Friday night, with that wonderful performance by Dundee United to brush aside Arbroath by 4 goals to 0. Then yesterday, across all 4 divisions, goals, certainly plenty of stories, plenty of controversies, a few very notable victories as well, and one final 90 minutes to bring you. It is here at the capital, it is here at Easter Road, it's Hibernian against St Mirren. Full live commentary to come here on Sports out of BBC Radio Scotland with Stephen McGinn, John Collins and Todd Duncan.
Thanks, Richard. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a mouth-watering match-up, this one here. Easter Road, bathed in sunshine. St Mirren fans off to our right, setting off a couple of flares. It's almost a sellout from the home crowd here at Easter Road. There's anticipation. And Hibs managed to turn their fortunes around from that horror show in Andorra. How vital was that not only they won and got through, but put on a show to quieten down the doubters. And Lee Johnson can look forward to the league campaign ahead, and he'll want more consistency, there's no question about that. Hibs lost more games than they won last season, conceded more goals than they scored in the league. That has to change if they want to move up and challenge for 3rd spot. St Mirren, well, Can they repeat last season's fantastic showing where they finished 6th? Their highest finish since 1985. There's an element of continuity with this team. And can they do it all over again? As the Hibs fans roar, Ewan Anderson, the referee, makes sure both teams are ready, looks at his watch. Hibs just waiting to get things underway. They do get things underway, shooting from left to right as we sit here in the main stand. St Mirren in their black and pink flecked away kit and come forward immediately through, but it's a free kick in the middle of the pitch. Hibs, Joe Newell I think hits the deck, gets a free kick, and what an atmosphere to start us off here, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, Olasanya wasn't starting 20 minutes ago, but he's already made his mark in the game, quite aggressive in there with Joe Newell.
And Newell tries to stab the free kick with the left foot. He was looking for the run of Eli Ewan, but it's cut out, and then Mark O'Hara's given it straight to Josh Campbell, who gives it to Ewan on the left hand side, cuts it back for Campbell, gets a strike on goal, but he was almost caught in two minds about whether to hit that or cross it, and it went harmlessly behind for a goal kick. But slack from O'Hara, John.
Slack from O'Hara, but it was caused by good pressing from the Hibs. He's under pressure in his own box. Disappointing from O'Hara's, but Hibs I think should have been better from that. It's a good cut back. I thought Josh Campbell could have adjusted his feet or taken another touch, but good start from Hibs.
Yeah, Josh Campbell, a couple of goals on Thursday night against Interclub Descaldes. He's a goal-scoring midfielder here at Hibs and likes to get in the box. Had more space than I think he thought there, and ended up pulling it behind. Gogic's header up into the sky. Ewan's got time to bring it down, then he's pressurised though, and St Mirren have the ball. Cleared up the pitch, up towards Olasanya, who's battling. Newell picks up the scraps in midfield, back to Will Fish, who goes long. It's over the head of Campbell. Gogic clears back down the pitch, and it's a throw in on the far side to Hibernian. Stevenson goes quickly back to his old chum Paul Hanlon. The two Ivies back for yet another season here at Easter Road, and start off the season as firm first choice as well. Here's Boyle out on the right hand side, forced back to Del Ferrier. Interesting to see if St Mirren can put him under pressure, because as the guys were saying pre-match, he's not a right back really. He looked solid on Thursday against the Andorran side, but this is very much a step up, and I'm sure Stephen Robinson would have maybe had a word in the ear and said let's try and get him turned and defending. And it's a battle in the middle of the pitch. Newell sticks a leg out, it goes all the way through for Will Fish, feeds it into the centre circle. Jake Doyle-Hayes out to Martin Boyle, he's going to go drive inside, he's pursued by Tanzer and he runs into traffic. Kiltay's robbed him and he's gone for the direct ball over the top to Olasanya, who's chasing. Will Fish gets back and has to deal with it, and it's behind for a corner to St Mirren. Good intent from Olasanya.
That's what Olasanya can bring that Mikael Mandron doesn't quite have. He's got that pace in behind, and right away when St Mirren turn the ball over, Greg Kilty's looking for that ball over the top, and I'm sure that's what's spoken about when the change was made.
Corner, St Mirren goalless 3 minutes in here at Easter Road, and a chance for St Mirren to get this ball in the box and also test out David Marshall, who, you know, it doesn't seem like he's completely cured from what Jamie McAllister was saying pre-match, but fit enough to start. Corner comes in, hoisted to the back post. O'Hara gets up, it's high in the air, and Marshall gets up to claim it under some pressure from Kilty, and then he's flung it out towards Ewan, who's had his shirt pulled, but advantage being played. Ewan running away down the left hand side, he's pursued closely by McMenamin, out for a throw in.
Tremendous play from the goalkeeper. Marshall takes it cleanly. First thing you want, good distribution. You know Johan's got the pace, excellent throughout. Johan opened up his leg, probably should have done better, never lifted his head up and realised he had two players on him.
Here's Del Ferrier on the halfway line, right hand side, moves it back to Will Fish, returned on loan from Manchester United for another season. Showed he had a poor start to his Hibs career, but really came onto a game in the second half of the season. Back for another campaign, the youngster, and has a distinct smell of flare smoke in the nostrils here at boisterous Easter Road. And throw in Del Ferrier, short to Newell, gets it back. Newell's going to switch it out to the left hand side where Lewis Stevenson controls in his own half. He's got space to look up, immediately feeds Ewan, who moved away from the ball, and it allowed Ryan Strain to get in and nick it off his toes. Strain driving in halfway through the Hibs half, he's got support on his right hand side, he's up to the edge of the box, moves on to McMenamin, looks for the cross, dummies back, gives it to Strain. He'll deliver this, he tries to, and Stevenson gets the block in, and then Stevenson saying to Johan, why didn't you come to the ball?
And he's 100% right. He's played the ball at his feet. Johan, he's waiting on the ball coming. You don't wait on the ball, you go towards the ball. Fullback stepped in front, all of a sudden from an attacking position you're into a defending position.
St Mirren corner, goalless as we approach the 5-minute mark here at Easter Road. And McMenamin, new signing, the Northern Ireland international, goes across, hand up, strikes the ball from the corner to the back post. Richard Taylor gets up, gets a header on target, didn't generate enough power to beat David Marshall, and again Marshall's gone quickly, he was crowded out here, but Johan's peeled over to the right hand side and he's got such pace that he's got there ahead of Tanzer. He's driving up the right hand side towards the edge of the box. Tanzer gets back, makes him cut back inside. Now he's looking for support, he's managed to move it to Doyle Hayes, who's come across, then Johan chips it for Delferrier, who's inside the box right hand side, gets the byline, tries to cross it, and it's bobbled off O'Hara and into the arms of Zach Hemming, who's gone quickly. Both sides not hanging around when it gets to the goalkeeper. Kiltie tries to go around Joe Newell. Newell makes a tackle and he's then won the throw in the end.
Superb play from Joe Newell. We talk about his passing, but a big part of being a midfielder is you've got to win the ball back, read the game well. Superb play from him there.
Hibs throw in. Ferrier takes it to Newell. Goes back to Will Fish, who's right on this right-hand touch line in front of the main stand. He goes back to David Marshall. And we're saying about Hibs, it's all about consistency. We've seen already two sides of them in the two games they've played so far. Brilliant, as you would expect on Thursday. Shocking in their first outing. They need to churn out far more consistent results if they want to achieve their objectives this season, and that's what Lee Johnson will be judged on.
Part of St Mirren's game plan in a 3-4-3 is to stay a 3-4-3 and for the wing backs to be aggressive and not be pushed back by Boyle and Johan. And I think that can give them a bit of a fright, that run from Johan there, where Tanzer's maybe a bit worried to push on. St Mirren need to make sure it doesn't drop into a 5-4-1 here.
And Hibs have got the throw in, I think, on this near side. There was a ball, St Mirren looking for a long ball again for Kiltie, who's always a willing runner, but it was dealt with by Hibs. It's actually out for a throw in to St Mirren on this near side. Richard Taylor has the ball in his hands. Goalless after 7 minutes at Easter Road in this final match of round 1 of the Premiership, the new Premiership season. Already a big result on day 1 with Kilmarnock defeating Rangers live on Sports Sound yesterday evening. Hibs trying to move it on up the left hand side through Stevenson, and he checks back and gives it to Hanlon. And it's a glorious day here in Edinburgh. Pitch, as John said, we walked in past it, looks immaculate, and Boyle's made a run. It's a long diagonal ball looking for him. That's well dealt with by Marcus Fraser. Watched it all the way and nodded it out. Here's Bacchus into the centre circle with his pass to Kiltie, who's held onto it well. It's back to Taylor, who's just tried to hit the diagonal out to McMenamin. It's intercepted. Here's Campbell, middle of the pitch for Hibs. Good tracking back by Keanu Bacchus, the Australian international. Tackles Campbell, and then there's a ball forward here by Strain looking for Olasanya, read by Hanlon, and it's a miscontrol on the far side by Ryan Strain, out for a throw in.
What we're seeing from these early St Mirren messages for Olasanya, as soon as anybody picks the ball up in the wide areas, he's got to make that run in behind. I think they've identified Hanlon lacking pace, and maybe Fish a little bit lacking pace compared to Olasanya as well.
That's what you were saying pre-match as well, Stephen. I wonder if that game plan has changed since Mikael Mandron had to pull out late on.
Yeah, I'm sure it's what they will spoke about, the lack of pace and how quick he is. I mean, Mandron is a focal point, but he does offer that in behind all the time.
Here comes Hibs. Delferrier into the feet of Johan. He tried a little clever flick round the corner, but there was absolutely no one there. Didn't look before he played it. And here is Kiltie up over into Hibs territory on the left-hand side. And he gives it back to Taylor, a centre half, into O'Hara, who had probably the finest season of his career last year with St Mirren. 12 goals. Yes, he takes the penalties, but I was at Ibrox at the end of last season and he scored one of them, which was an absolute screamer. It's not just about the penalties, he's a good finisher. Here's Taylor again looking for that run of Olasanya in behind, but it's cut out. Falls for Newell in midfield, goes back to Hanlon, right back in the Hibs half, the centre half, Stevenson, Newell, and St Mirren holding their front line fairly high up, certainly in the Hibs half, not giving them their own half to build up. And Delferrier looks for the pass down to Boyle, but it was nowhere near him, and easily cut out by Scott Tanzer. And St Mirren will look to play out. Bacchus drops in, receives the pass, moves it out to Strain, but it's a good tackle from Stevenson, and now Hibs are on the attack. Yuan on the left hand side, they're doubling up on him. He's got two in front of him. He's going to try and take on one. He does, and he spins inside Marcus Fraser, but he doesn't manage to get in the box, and he's crowded out. He didn't have much support, in fairness, Ellie Yuan, and now McMenamin comes away, and Lewis Stevenson trips and makes the sensible foul.
Exactly what makes Yuan such a frustrating player. He's got the player in the wide area. There's 4 players round about him. He's got to think, if I move this back to Lewis Stevenson, switch it, Hibs have got superior numbers elsewhere, but what does he do? He keeps his head down, tries to dribble 4. He's got to learn. If he wants to become a better player, these are the situations he's got to eliminate from his game.
Yeah, he's certainly got talent, and Hibs have paid big money in Scottish football terms outside the Old Firm to take him here on a permanent basis. And second half of last season, you saw what he was capable of in front of goal, but he does, or can, flatter to deceive when he gets in dangerous areas. Long free kick, headed away by Fish, and then Doyle Hayes takes it on the head. O'Hara's put in a crunching but clean tackle, out for a throw-in on this near side.
I think what it does do as well as an imposing player, it gives you encouragement to go and smother you. If you keep tight and touch, then they're going to encourage you to press him.
Here's Del Ferrier, he's under pressure in his own half from Kiltie. They're forced back. He doesn't really have a pass. Marshall's offering, and then he loses it as he tries to clear it. Kiltie blocks. Bacchus back to Kiltie on this left hand side, looks up, tries a right-footed cross. It's headed away. Diving header from Hanlon in the centre of the box, but then it's lost out again by Del Ferrier. Kiltie moves it inside. He looks like he just slipped there. Furious cries for a penalty. He's thumping the deck. He feels he was tripped, but it looked like he just lost his footing, but it's come back to Strain, edge of the box, shot blocked, then it's still inside the box. McMenamin jinks back, he's forced to the corner of the box, moves it back to Marcus Fraser, pass doesn't go to, it does fall to the back post, and Kiltie and straight down the throat of Marshall, and he's still shouting at the referee, Ewan Anderson.
Stephen identified it pre-match. Del Ferry is not a right back, and already we can see he's a weakness in that back 4, and St Mirren have identified that already.
Nearly 12 minutes played here at Easter Road. That was a bit slack from Hibs as well, because they didn't clear that ball when they should have, and it went all the way through to Kiltie, who managed a right-footed shot, but it was fairly tame. Not sure. Gogic under pressure here, he's pressed, and Boyle's nipped in. Boyle up to the edge of the box, he's touched it round Fraser, he's gone down. Ewan Anderson is completely unmoved. He did again. It was similar to the Kiltie one. He kind of was almost expecting the contact.
I think credit to Boyle, he never dived, he's got off on his feet, he's not tried to get the foul, he's just lost his balance.
Very good referee in that from Ewan Anderson, very consistent.
Yeah, it's just Kiltie came inside one end, Boyle tapped it around and went round the other. They just kind of lost their footing. Not that the fans agreed, of course, but on we go. Free kick, Ewan Anderson. There's a free kick in favour of Hibs in their own half. Josh Campbell goes down and gets the free kick. 12.5 minutes played, and it's Hibs 0, St Mirren 0 here at Easter Road. Good contest though.
Yeah, I think you see from up here, the St Mirren goes straight back into a back 5. Hibs might need to be a bit patient here. And the front 5 of St Mirren are working really hard when Hibs are moving the ball across the pitch. If they can move them a few times, how often can the St Mirren players keep moving?
And there seems to be some sort of VAR check going on, because Ewan Anderson's got his finger to his ear, so there's some communication going. There's a break in play. Not sure exactly what's being checked, possible, and it's the screen. Wonder of a screen here at Easter Road tells us that they're checking for a possible penalty. Now I wonder if that's the Kiltie one, because Boyles was outside the box and he's going over to the screen. Ewan Anderson is going over to the screen.
From up here it looked like a slap, but almost from Greg Kiltie's reaction you sense there must have been contact.
Yeah, he went crazy. It's very rare a player will do that if he's not been touched, because it shows, I think this will be given as a penalty.
And that's what usually happens when the referee goes across the monitor, and Kiltie he's across taking a drink, and he's saying to the staff there was definite contact. Now obviously you have to take that with a pinch of salt, but he's, as you say, sometimes the reaction of players can tell you a lot, and Ewan Anderson has disappeared from our view. You can just see him looking at the screen here.
How long did that take? Well, how's that possible? How long does it take the VR to have a look at something and flag up? That was minutes, was it not?
Yeah, it was a couple of minutes, because it's gone, and it's a penalty. Ewan Anderson has pointed at the spot. St Mirren do have a penalty. The foul on Kiltie all the way back. It must have been 2 or 3 minutes away back.
That could go down as the longest delay in VAR history, surely.
Well, it's one of the things they're absolutely keen to cut out and cut down.
However, if it's a correct result,
we're not privy to the replay, but just on Greg Kilty's reaction for the last couple of minutes, you think there must have been a contact.
Okay.
Well, obviously, the reason is the ball's in play and it didn't go out of play for a good few minutes. So then when it stopped, there can be the communication between the VAR, Kevin Clancy, and Ewan Anderson, the referee. And then, obviously, there's a time as well that takes the referee to get to the screen and check it. But O'Hara, the St Mirren captain, has his hands on his hips. He's up against Marshall. He shimmies, sends him the wrong way. Almost straight down the middle from Mark O'Hara. He gets another goal-scoring season up and running. The St Mirren captain, calm as you like, rolled it to the goalkeeper's left-hand side. Marshall went to his right. It's Hibernian 0, St Mirren 1.
What a start. We spoke about him being the talisman for St Mirren, and he's started the season in that way. And we spoke about also St Mirren taking the game to Hibs and trying to catch them early off the back of the European game. This is just a dream start for Stephen Robinson.
Well, let's go down pitch side, because Brian has seen a replay of that penalty shout. Brian, what have you seen? What can you tell us?
There was minimal contact, you'd have to say. Greg Kilty cut inside Joe Newell, his foot was out, it was toe-to-toe basically, but there was contact, enough for Ewan Anderson to say that was a penalty.
Well, we know that when officials are called over, I think twice last season we had overturned decisions. Willie Collum with the red cards for Ryan Jack, or he rescinded it and put it down to a yellow at Ibrox against St Johnstone. There was another as well, out of 2. So we know as soon as the refs go over, they're more likely to overturn their decision. And here's O'Hara, and he's played it in behind for Olasanya, who's on it. He's into the box. Olasanya through on goal, and he's slotted it by David Marshall to double St Mirren's lead at Easter Road.
We spoke about his pace, getting down the side of Hibs' 2 central defenders. The 2 central defenders are lacking pace, I'm afraid, and he has got pace and he's on his toes. He's just perfect timed his run. It was a good finish, popped it through the keeper's legs.
Absolutely, full credit to Stephen Robinson. As he said, not ideal for the game plan, the team to change so late, but the message has been across. Every chance you get, play the ball in behind the 2 centre halves, and Olasanya, on your bike, get after it, your pace will get you in, and he's got in and still had a lot to do. Puts it under David Marshall. What a goal.
Well, he wasn't expecting to be starting this game. He was warming up thinking he was going to be on the bench, but he's had a big impact even before that goal, stretching the Hibs defence. And it's O'Hara as well, just scored the penalty, influential, wins the ball, puts it in behind, and in fairness to Olasanya, he stayed extremely calm to just slot it under David Marshall and into the back of the net. And that's his second of the season. He got the late winner at Central Park against Cowdenbeath in the League Cup, which turned out to be a huge goal in St Mirren's season to get them through. And he's up and running in the league as well. Tawiose Olasanya, he was sent out to Arbroath on loan last season as well. A bit part, not really involved. Well, he's had a big say on day one of St Mirren's league campaign. 2-0. And Hibs utterly shell-shocked. Here's Campbell, left-hand side. Can they mount a quick response to that quick-fire double from St Mirren? Loses out, and then it's a heavy pass from Bacchus, and it's not dealt with, and it's out on the far side for a throw into Hibs, who trailed 2-0. Not even played 20 minutes here at Easter Road.
Well, it's the situation like this, it tells the manager what his players are made of. Now we'll see who's brave, who keeps wanting the ball, who starts hiding, and if one starts hiding, it's all over.
Long throw incoming from Joe Newell. He's launched it into the box, into towards the 6-yard box. Doidge challenges for it, doesn't get it. Then Newell comes in, Hanlon goes up, loses out, edge of the box. Jake Doyle-Hayes tries the shot. There's appeals in the main stand for a handball from the block, but nothing given on the field. And Stevenson with a switch of play up towards Taylor. Hanlon still up there from the set piece challenges, and Campbell's won the scraps in midfield. He's moved out to Yuan, out on the left hand side, infield to Newell. He's about 30 yards from goal, but he's forced back by Keanu Bacchus, and he has to go all the way back to Lewis Stevenson in his own half. Newell gets it back, but again the 2 St Mirren players, Olasanya and Bacchus, just obstructing the way through. Long ball out towards Yuan, and that's not dealt with by Strain. Weak header, but he manages to get it at the second attempt back to Hemming, the goalkeeper, who launches it forward. Newell takes on the chest, and it's flicked round the corner. Campbell couldn't get there, and Strain defends. And as John said, the fans, well, they're already irate with what they've seen in the last few minutes, and Hibs need to settle down.
It's during this period when players have got to learn to close the crowd out, forget about the crowd, stay focused, remember what they've got to do for their teammate, always making themselves available, good reactions when you lose the ball.
Hibs trailing by 2-0, 20 minutes played. Here's Doyle Hayes midway through the St Mirren half, out to the right hand side. Boyle, he's one-on-one with Tanzer. He's only going to do one thing, but he checks back, then digs in towards Doidge in the middle of the box. Fraser heads it away. Doyle Hayes on the edge, across to Campbell. Ewan right inside the box on the left hand side, cross blocked, and then Bacchus clears for St Mirren. And Hibs have rallied somewhat in the last couple of minutes since that second goal, trying to pin St Mirren back.
Good reaction, they've got them pinned in now. Now they've got to get good deliveries in the box. Can they get to the byline? A goal changes everything.
Absolutely. They need one, St Mirren. When they don't give much away, that is Hibs' problem. They are incredibly frugal, or certainly they were last season. Not so much on the road, right enough. Only won 3 league games away from home, and then Hibs just put one straight out the park.
Delferry is sloppy, he's anxious, he's nervous. It's a simple execution, 15-yard pass to your winger, and he can't even hit him.
I think it's quite obvious he's really uncomfortable in a right back. As I said, he was at Edinburgh City last year as an attacking midfielder that took chances. To put him in at right back's really difficult for the boy. I know he'd be desperate to play for Hibs, but it is a challenge for him.
Yeah, well, obviously Chris Cadden is out fairly long term with that his Achilles injury. Here's Bacchus, middle of the pitch for St Mirren. He's midway through the half. He looks for Olasanya, who's not managed to get in behind, but he has picked the ball up edge of the box, out to McMenamin, who jinks in on the left foot. Shot deflected past Marshall's near post, and then Marshall's out giving lectures to the defence. Corner, St Mirren.
And they have got a right back on the bench though that the manager has signed, so it wouldn't shock me if there's an early substitution. The young lad's really struggling.
Yeah, Jordan Obita can play at left back. There's Lewis Miller as well, of course, but the manager doesn't seem to trust him. And clearly, even Delferrier is on the pitch. Corner in towards the back post. Gogic gets up, doesn't make clean contact, and in fact, the whistle has gone from Ewan Anderson for a foul.
I mean, that's a couple of corners hard from that end. They put great deliveries into that back post twice. They've been close to getting their head on it.
St Mirren leading Hibernian by 2-0 here at Easter Road. 22 minutes played. Mark O'Hara's penalty after a VAR check following a foul on Kiltie. And then just 2 minutes later, Olasanya played in behind by O'Hara and stuck it under David Marshall to double St Mirren's lead. A perfect start to the league season. Still plenty of time left, of course, for Hibs to turn this around, but dearie me, not what they would have hoped for, nor this crowd who have packed out Easter Road, the home side.
There's a couple of times Stevenson and Ewan have been on a different page, and usually you'd expect that with a new signing, but they played together all season last year.
Well, for me, it's Johan's reaction. It looks like he's switched off. He's not at it.
Yeah, and you can hear the dissatisfaction of the home side, because that was a long ball looking for Martin Boyle. He'd come in field looking to run in behind, but it was overhit straight through to Zach Hemman, who just got the ball at his feet and takes his time until Christian Doidge approaches, and then he moves it on to Taylor. He's Gogic, who's dropped in and is playing as part of that back three. Charles Dunn on the bench. He's had a calf issue. He is fit enough for the bench. And here is Ryan Strain out on the right hand side midway through the Hibs half. He's put it out down the wing to Olasanya, who's peeled out wide. He's tussling with Hanlon, and Hanlon has made the challenge. It's come off Olasanya. Goal kick. Hibs 0, St Mirren 2.
He's worried the two centre halves, Olasanya, enough that St Mirren are able to play the ball up. Both centre halves drop with Olasanya, and McMenamin can pick the ball up easy. That's the difference the player that runs in behind can make to a team.
Here's Newell, moves it across to Hanlon, out to Ewan, who's dropped deep into his own half, and he's gone for the switch of play, but it's fizzed right behind Delferrier, who's made up the ground to go backwards, and then he's going to try and take on Kiltie. Moves a pass in field, but it doesn't meet the feet of Doidge, and then Bacchus picks up the scraps, gives it to Gogic. Here's Kiltie, left hand side, not too far over the halfway line. He moves it back to Tanzer, who's going to go back to Taylor, but the Hibs fans on the backs of their players. 2 quick fire goals, and Hibs initially had a good response. He had St Mirren pinned back. There was an intensity, but it's few mistakes creeping in. Long switch of play from St Mirren out to the left. Kilty, and he's found the run of Tanser on the underlap in the box. Tanser's put it up in the air. Lasagna's there, but Marshall claims it, and then he gets a done from McMenamin, I think, and it's a free kick. Ewan Anderson blows the whistle, and it was a free kick all day long. And in fact, McMenamin's gone in the book.
From here, it looks a soft booking to me. I don't know about you, Stephen.
Yeah, well, I just think from a St Mirren point of view, they've maybe discussed Marshall not being fully fit. If you can get a wee chance to go in late, you never know. They've obviously got a goalkeeping problem at the minute, so it might have been something that's been discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marshall stayed down. It was just a nudge on the shoulder to shoulder. He definitely kind of barged them over. McMenamin, he's gone in the book, and I was concerned for David Marshall, and obviously
Stephen Robinson's he's identified Del Ferry. I mean, every opportunity to get a chance to put the balls on top of him or in behind him, get them turned.
So Stephen Robinson's just down on the touchline in front of us. He's given out the instructions to his players. They're taking on some water. It is actually summer here at Easter Road. Incredible. The sun's turned up, and as have St Mirren, you have to say, big time. 2 quick-fire goals have put Hibs right on the back foot. Marshall seems okay, and it's interesting because David Marshall was going to start that game on Thursday before he pulled up in the warm-up, but he didn't have a good season last season. Statistically, didn't save as many as you would expect, and he's just had to put a poor goal kick out there straight to Olasanya, and Hibs have managed to just win the ball back, but Stevenson was under pressure, and he's given it to Ryan Strain, who's up towards the right hand corner of the box. He's given it to McMenamin, cross straight down Marshall's throat, but he's fumbled it behind for a corner. He does not seem right, the Hibs goalkeeper. He's clutching his head. He maybe looks as if he's dazed or something. If there's a head injury, then there should obviously be no risk taken, but he fumbled a routine cross there, and it's behind for a corner.
Well, there's an edginess spreading throughout the whole Hibs team. They're all anxious just now. They need to try and settle things down, get a hold of the ball. Just now what's happening, they're getting to the back, they're trying to play it forward too quick, giving the ball away. They've got to think, okay, it's 2-0, we'll keep possession, let's get some touches, get the confidence back of it. Because sometimes when you've got a big centre forward, the easy option forever is just launch it to him. But at this moment in time, when they do launch it, there's no winning.
If you were to ask Stephen Robinson, how would you like Hibs to play against you going into this game, they'd say, just get the ball early up to Dodge, and we'll deal with that. We've got 3 big centre halves, we'll deal with it. What the problem for St Mirren would come if they start to develop the play, if they switch the play, get Martin Boyle into the game, switch it then to Ewan, maybe a one-on-one situation. So the way the game's going at the minute, it's almost textbook for St Mirren as the away team here.
I agree.
And David Marshall, the physios are on, he's still holding his head. And they're potentially going to make a change here. Let's get pitch side to Brian McLaughlin, who can bring us up to speed.
Not 1, not 2, potentially 3, but certainly 2 changes at the moment. Alan Del Ferrier and Josh Campbell are going to be replaced. Dylan Levitt and Jordan Abita are stripped and ready to go. They're just actually having a look at David Marshall at the moment. Max Boric was out warming up as well. He's now back in the dugout as well just now, but it looks like he's going to continue. There's going to be a corner at the moment to St Mirren.
Here comes the corner in, and it's all the way to the back post. Richard Taylor was in. Marshall didn't have to deal with it there, and he's going to play it out for the goal kick. Well, that's interesting. Lee Johnson has clearly seen enough, and Obita is a left back, so even if he comes on, and here come the changes, Dylan Levitt is going to replace Josh Campbell.
I think that's a surprise, and one Josh Campbell will be disappointed getting taken off, but tactical. Del Ferry, no surprise.
It had to happen. It had to happen.
He was uncomfortable in possession, out of possession, and he's not a natural right back.
Yeah, Obita's going to play left back, and it looks like Will Fish is going to move to right back. And
I think they've moved more to a 3-5-2 with Obita and Martin Boyer's wing backs and
matching up. They're just matching up St Mirren, basically. Looks like it.
Yeah, certainly. Obita is not a right back, so that's the way they've worked it. Here's Taylor, wins it. Tanser sends it long. Again, Hibs defence turned. Fish has allowed it to bounce. He's under pressure on the edge of his box from Olasanya. Does get the hook clearance in, and the whistle is gone. There's an offside potentially against Olasanya. The Hibs, they don't look comfortable.
Poor Mikael Mandrin doesn't want to start the season with an injury, but it's been the sub of the season so far. I mean, what a difference Olasanya's made to this St Mirren team.
Long ball forward for Obita, and it's too far, and it's gone all the way for a goal kick. And Hibs trailing on their own patch to St Mirren by 2-0. 29 minutes. O'Hara and Olasanya, the goal scorers. in the blink of an eye.
So it looks like Levitt sitting in front of the back three with Joe Newell and Doyle Hayes slightly further forward, triangle.
That's interesting, John, because I don't know what you think, but Levitt, I think a lot of people would prefer him further forward because he's brilliant at putting those little passes in, but he's obviously going to the base.
Well, the manager's obviously wanting him just to sit and get on the ball deeper, try and get some possession, because the last 10-15 minutes there's been no possession at all.
Here's Yuan, left hand side, he's under pressure, gives the ball away. Here's Bacchus, forwards, straight through the lines for McMenamin. He's got the head down, he's driving towards the house box, he's out to the right hand side, he's pursued by Stevenson and Levitt. Here's Bacchus out to the touchline. Strain tries to put it down the touchline. He does for McMenamin, who's touched it brilliantly inside for Bacchus, who's dug out a cross, and then it's not dealt with convincingly, but it is behind for a corner. Hanlon kind of fell over and managed to put it behind for a corner kick, but Hibs all over the place, really.
They're so worried about Olasanya that Kelties, Bacchus, O'Hara, McMenamin, they're just getting space to just pick up the second ball and then get after St Mirren. So I think they've tried to put in Levitt to maybe have a 3v2 in midfield, try and get some control back in the game.
Corner St Mirren over on the far side. It's McMenamin over to take the Northern Ireland international. Left foot puts it right into the 6-yard box. Hanlon gets up. It's O'Hara who also gets up and heads it in past the side netting. He's got a really good leaf on him, Mark O'Hara.
Every single corner from that side has landed in exactly the same spot. They've obviously identified a weakness beyond the back post that Hibs defending. So far, thankfully, they haven't managed to score from Hibs' point of view.
Marshall takes the goal kick long. We'll need to keep an eye on him because he did not seem right after that challenge. It's straight up and easily won at the back for St Mirren. It goes off in the air. McMenamin wins it, and then ball from Fraser looking for the run of Olasanya once again. Hanlon got across and just nipped in front and managed to get it back to Marshall. Here's Levitt, who's dropping deep, and he's looking for an option, and it goes back to his defender, Paul Hanlon. Moves it out to the left hand side. Stevenson up the touchline to Obita, a substitute. Back to Hanlon, and Hibs adjusted formation as the guys pointed out. 3 at the back, 2 changes made because St Mirren have had their number. Here's Levitt, middle of the pitch, and he's forced back. St Mirren, and they're not doing anything you wouldn't expect of them for having watched them last season. It's what they're so good at, just so disciplined, effective, and know their jobs, and are giving Hibs a really tough time here.
Yeah, a lot of people speak about pressing, and every team tries to do this high press, but there's a really organised, it's coached really well, and there's a plan to it, and they're quite hard to find space in amongst it.
Ball into the feet of Doidge, but he's not held it. He tried to flick it into the path of Newell, but it evaded his teammate by some distance. St Mirren go back to Hemming, who's been a spectator so far, you have to say. Header up into the middle of the pitch, flicked on by Doyle Hayes, but again it's just Hibs passes, headers, flicks, not going to teammates. Gogic at the back for St Mirren, takes a couple of touches, he's under pressure slightly from Doidge, but just knocks it back to Hemming easily enough. Hemming's gone long up to Olasanya, who's tussling with Hanlon, and he's got a little flick on to McMenamin. Back to Strain, the wing back, and he's played it into the channel for Olasanya to chase on the right hand side. Hanlon's had to go back, he's defended that really well. A little touch away from Olasanya out to the touchline, and then he's managed to find the space to clear it. Looks for Doidge.
Again, that's happening too much. Players at the back are getting it, and they've got midfield players in front 15-20 yards away from it, and they're looking for the long pass to Doidge. It's not happening, it's not working. He's got strong centre halves round about him.
Even the couple of times he has won it, he's just flicking it onto the
nobody
centre half.
Exactly.
And it's all the way back with Hanlon, who goes back to Marshall. You sometimes see that with teams, is when they play with a target man, there's just the temptation to look for him every single time, when actually, you've
got to choose your moments.
And here's Fish, right hand side. Boyle, infield. Levitt has picked up a nice space. He's got space to flick a pass, but he's got nowhere near the switch of play he was looking for Obita, and it's not convincingly dealt with by Strain. And then there's a challenge in the middle of the pitch for McMenamin. Hibs fans didn't like that when we go, and then O'Hara shimmies, turns, takes it on the half turn in the middle of the pitch, and he's up over halfway, and he gets the free kick. Outstanding from the St Mirren captain. He's been absolutely instrumental, scored the penalty, assist for the second goal, and that was special.
And it's quality play from O'Hara. He's a nice turn, took it on the back foot, spun away from Doyle Hayes. Doyle Hayes, in fairness, he's chasing him. I think it's a little tug. I think it's a harsh booking again.
I think it's a part of his game he's developed. He knows his body, he knows his size. He can welcome the contact and use his body to turn. And once he opens up his legs, you're having to take the booking to stop him because he's such a good runner.
Yeah, Doyle Hayes, the first Hibs player to go in the book. St Mirren free kick just outside the centre circle in the Hibs half, and it's going to be Ryan Strain who's middle of pitch. He's got quality delivery, we know that. 4 assists in the League Cup groups, and he's gone actually short to the edge of the box. Kilties picks up, gives it back to Strain, who's got loads of time to pick out a cross. That's exactly what he's done, but it's not a good one. Goes straight behind for a goal kick to Hibs, who are trailing by 2-0. 10 minutes plus whatever's added for the VAR check in this first half at Easter Road.
I think we need half time, the Hibs players. I think they look a bit shell shocked. I think some of them are thinking about playing long and others are trying to play. They're a wee bit caught in between both.
Here's Doyle Hayes, nice pass to find him in the St Mirren half, out to Boyle on the right hand side, who's barely had a touch. Martin Boyle moved infield. Hanlon in the centre circle, left-footed pass out to Obita with the pink boots, tries to take a touch round Strain, who made the challenge, out for a throw-in on the far side. And Hibs need to find some answers here. Quick fire double from St Mirren has them on the back foot, and a packed Easter Road are not happy with what they've been watching, understandably so. Levitt back to Hanlon, goes long again, he's looking for Obita. He's found him this time. If Obita can keep it in, he can just about, but he's forced to just swing a boot at it, and it went up and high in the air and then straight behind for a goal kick.
You know, those straight passes 30 yards in there skidding off the ground, the chances of them actually hitting their target are very slim. They're playing too many of those balls over the top. They're just sliding away out for by kicks. They're forcing it, that's the word we're looking. They're forcing it too much. They've got more shorter passes, more movement in the middle of the park. There's 3 of them in there. Levitt, credit to him since he's got on, he's making himself available, he's getting on the ball. What I want to see him is get it and slide it through to Jonio in the next stage, next phase of play.
McMenamin wins the header though. He's not the tallest, but he's gets up and he's getting stuck in, that's for sure. Here's Bacchus, middle of the pitch, looks for Kiltie. Tackle by Will Fish, who has gone long, and this time he has found Eli Yuan on the right hand side of the box, who takes it first time and just lampoons it straight over the crossbar, much to the ire of the Hibs fans. I don't know what he was thinking there, he had loads of time.
Well, he was thinking he can wrap his foot and put it on Josh and Christian Doy's head, but the reality is, to execute that is 1 in 100 he's going to do it. Get it on the deck, control it, and get running at a fullback.
It's the first time almost St Mirren gave the ball away in a position where they're vulnerable, and they've got Eli Yuan down the side, and there's alarm bells as a St Mirren fan watching it, and he then does that, puts out the pack and solves all their problems.
Header won by Stevenson. Again, it's straight back. Olasanya always just there, and Hanlon got a foot to it, but it's offside against St Mirren. It'll be a free kick to Hibs. Nearly 38 played here at Easter Road. Hibs trailing St Mirren by 2-0. What a start to the season this would be for St Mirren if they were to go on and win this game. It's another long ball from Hibs, which is just straight down Marcus Fraser's throat. He wins the header, and then Newell's given away the free kick middle of the pitch, and St Mirren will just... Well, they look to go quickly actually, but it's miles from the spot of the foul, so Ewan Anderson says come back and take it. But as you say, John, Hibs just immediately looking for the long ball,
and it's not happening, it's not working for them. They've got to very quickly realise that is not the ball that's going to get them back into the game.
Levitt clears up, Taylor, Deutsch gets the tackle in, but Bacchus nips in. Midway through the Hibs half, he's out to the left hand side. Kiltie, he's going to run at Will Fish. Greg Kiltie, left hand corner of the box. Martin Boyle gets back, forces him to come inside, but he's still got the ball, then moves it on to Strain. Here's O'Hara out to the left hand side in Tanzer. He forced back to O'Hara, who's under pressure from Doyle Hayes, has to go all the way back to Alex Gogic at centre half, in his own half, and he's done well, Gogic, to get away from Yuan. Out to Tanzer, first time right foot, again looking for Olasanya, who's making Paul Hanlon work for it. Good touch from Hanlon, and then gets the pass away. Fish gives it back to Hanlon, and that's better play from Hibs into the chest of Doidge on halfway. Nicks it to Newell, under pressure, but it's the left-footed pass, but he was under pressure and there was a challenge, went in and it's not reached Obita. Instead, Strain picks up, moves it to O'Hara, who just exits the centre circle in the Hibs half. Out to the touchline where Bacchus is. He's played it up to Strain, who's very advanced. Right hand side, he takes on Steve Levitt. It is near post, and for Lasagna, he gets a touch right in the corner of the 6-yard box, and the defender had to nip in and just put that behind for another St Mirren corner kick.
They're shell-shocked, Hibs. I mean, I think if the score's 0-0, Joe Newell just plays that out to Lou Stevenson. It's so on because they're chasing the game. He thinks he has to go in behind to LSU, and as I said, it's something St Mirren are really comfortable with.
St Mirren are full of confidence, full of energy. You know, as is often the case when you're 2-0 up. Hibs opposite players, the confidence you can see all of a sudden. But in football, that can change quick. The key is when the confidence is low, you've got to continue to work hard, stay compact, and play the ball simple. Don't try complicated long passes.
Corner comes in and it's straight down David Marshall's throat, and Hibs will be grateful for a bit of a reprieve. And then Levitt again tries the Hail Mary pass up to Yuan, and it's cut out, and it's going to be a throw in on this near side. Levitt is going to take, he throws it back to Fish and goes back to Marshall. 40 minutes played, and it's Hibs 0, St Mirren 2, and Hibs really need to just find not even a goal. They just need to find some passages of play, can build confidence. Even that's an unconvincing pass back to Hanlon, who has to take a touch back towards his own goal, and he looks up and he doesn't see a whole lot of movement in front of him. Levitt eventually drops in, takes a touch, moves it back to Hanlon. Newell is jogging across and makes a run, but Fish goes short to Doyle Hayes, who's just miscontrolled it straight out of the park, took his eye off it, and that really sums up Hibs' first half.
Yeah, it's been a 45 minutes of errors, giving the ball away needlessly. Complete opposite from St Mirren. They've looked decisive, looked like they're comfortable in their game plan, they look hungry, and I'm feeling they're looking sharp.
Absolutely. Here's Taylor, launches it up the left hand side again, looking for Lasagna. It's flicked on by Boyle back towards his own goal. Hanlon's come across and he's played it up and out the pitch for a throw in, and Tanzer will take for St Mirren, who lead by 2-0 here. You're listening to Sports Sounds live on BBC Radio Scotland, the final game of the opening card of Scottish Premiership fixtures. What a weekend it's been already.
I think that touch from Martin Boyle, maybe his first in about 5-10 minutes, a defensive header, probably sums up where the Hibs performance is, not getting him into the game.
O'Hara, left hand side cross. Lasagna can control on the edge of the box, puts it back to Bacchus, who dummies the shot and then goes down under the challenge of Newell and gets the free kick. Dangerous position, about 20 yards from goal, just to the right of the D on the edge of the Hibs box. And there'll be a few who fancy this. I would imagine Stephen Strain has the ball in his hands. He could definitely hit them.
Yeah, Strain's excellent at them. Tanzer can hit them. McMenamin's been putting them on the money from the corners. Yeah, I think he's kind of loitering over it, but almost the best case for Hibs at the moment is just to get into half-time at 2-0. They are shell-shocked. They need to change the game plan here.
And this is another chance for St Mirren to get a strike on goal. We're going to have 4 minutes of added time in this first half. Most of that will be for the VAR check for the penalty, which resulted in the opening goal from Mark O'Hara. There's plenty of time being taken for this free kick. Strain and another are over. Can't see because Strain is blocking them. Is it Tanzer? Maybe the left foot of Tanzer. I think it is Scott Tanzer with the left foot. Strain is considering it with the right. It's going to be one of them. Ewan Anderson still pondering, and it's going to be right foot of Strain. Whips it just over the bar.
Good effort. Good effort. A foot over, I would say. Decent effort.
Yeah, got plenty of pace on it. Right back. A few have expressed maybe a bit surprised that Ryan Strain is still at St Mirren. Stephen Robinson said they've had no bids for him, and they'll be delighted with that. Really good player.
Yeah, outstanding signing for St Mirren, and an amazing season. And as you say, goes under the radar quite a lot. How big a player he is for St Mirren.
And he wins the header. Gogic up to Kilty midway through the Hibs half. He's battling really well against Jake Doyle Hayes and then gets the pass off. Here's Bacchus, right-footed pass out to the right-hand touchline. McMenamin looks for the run in behind off Strain. He's bombing forward that well on the right-hand side, but it was blocked. Out for a throw into St Mirren on the far side. And we're heading towards the end of this first period here at Easter Roads. St Mirren leading by 2-0. O'Hara and Olusanya, the goal scorers. Olusanya, a late addition to the front line for St Mirren after Mandron pulled out in the warm-up, and boy has that paid dividends. St Mirren take the throw in, and Strain battles, looks for Olusanya, cut out by Stevenson, played long, Deutsch goes up, Gogic wins the header, falling for Doyle Hayes, who's charging forward into the St Mirren half. He's up towards the edge of the box, Yuan on the left hand side, good tackle from Marcus Fraser, throw in on the far side to Hibbs. They look to go quickly, no, it's left for Obita, the left wing back, who's come on as a replacement. 2 changes already made by the Hibs boss Lee Johnson.
Manager will be desperate again at half time to calm his players down. They're all over the place.
Even better if they get a goal here, and Joe Newell is going to fling this into the box from the far side. It's exactly what he does towards Deutsch, who loses out to Gogic to the edge of the box. Doyle Hayes sends it back up in the air, falls for Boyle, edge of the box, trying to work a shooting opening on the left foot, and he's dinked it over looking for Newell, but it's headed away by Strain, and it'll fall for Bacchus, who just puts the foot through it, goes up to the halfway line, out for a throw in to Hibs on the far side. Obita takes. Hibs trailing by 2-0. Here is Stevenson with the ball at the back, takes a touch in front of him, and again the Hibs fans pleading for urgency, and it's sent. Deutsch wins the flick on this time, but it's through for Hemming, the St Mirren goalkeeper, who dives on it, and the St Mirren fans are applauding and jumping behind Zach Hemming's goal. They will be absolutely delighted with what they've watched in this first 45 minutes from their team, and they didn't enjoy too many away days last season. St Mirren, just 3 wins on the road in the league. They were outstanding at home, but this is an away day to be savoured so far. Fraser goes back to Hemming, the goalkeeper, who just puts the foot through it, and St Mirren will be content to get to half time with their lead intact. Here's Newell, heads it to the feet of Levitt, gives it back to Newell, who goes back to Stevenson, but again the pass isn't straight to feet. Stevenson has to scramble across, puts the pass up with the left foot onto the chest of Yuan, who controls it nicely, but he's facing his own goal, and in his own half he spreads it across to Will Fish. Boyle is on halfway, gets the pass, right hand side, he's going to try and go down the outside, goes for the pass, Doyle Hayes gets there, but O'Hara just uses his body as a shield and just nips in and wins the ball and goes back to Hemming. It's very comfortable for St Mirren at the moment. Zach Hemming pumps it long. We're into the 4 minutes of added time at the end of this first half. Obita wins the duel. The Hibs wing back on the left hand side, pink boots, goes to Yuan, shakes off one challenge, drives in field, step over, and then he passes straight at Greg Kiltie. It just hits off Kiltie. It's fallen for Newell. Here's Levitt, twists and turns, he's moved it out to the left hand side where Obita is. He's up in line with the box, looks to drive in field at Strain, who just stands incredibly strong, says no chance you're going outside, mate, and just stands good defending. And St Mirren now with McMenamin come away with the ball. McMenamin tries to go around the outside of Joe Newell, who's battled back admirably to win the ball, but it's too comfortable for St Mirren for the Hibs, from a Hibs point of view. When they come forward, here's Obita, looks for the pass inside again. St Mirren get a touch, goes up in the air, up to Olusanya, and then a ball in behind for Olusanya. He's up over halfway, right on the right hand side. He's driving up Paul Hanlon up to the edge of the box. He's got numbers inside with Bacchus, who tries to touch it onto Kiltie, and it's intercepted, and Jake Doyle Hayes clears down towards halfway. If the pass had gone to feet there,
Hibs got away with it there. St Mirren should have done better. There's a 3v2 edge of the box.
St Mirren with the ball at the back, Strain, and he's in no rush. And why would he be? The side are leading 2-0. We're into the final minute of the 49 that will be played in this first half. O'Hara looks for Bacchus out on the right touchline. He's found him. Lovely scooped pass. Bacchus tries to come inside. He's found McMenamin. Touch out towards the touchline. Back to O'Hara midway through the Hibs half. Been outstanding, Mark O'Hara, and he drives down towards the right hand touchline in a little back heel to Strain. He's up against Newell, forced back into McMenamin, who's touch out towards the touchline. St Mirren just managing to keep the ball alive brilliantly. O'Hara uses his body despite being right on the touchline to keep possession. Brilliant from the midfielder. Back to Marcus Fraser, who eventually has to play it long, but again Olasanya's willing, but he's offside this time. And St Mirren just almost too strong for Hibs when they...
Hibs are looking heavy-legged all over the pitch. It's like they're all tired already, but that's a mental fatigue. That's confidence, and sometimes drains you of energy.
Long free kick from Marshall. Deutsch appeals, said he was being pulled by Fraser, and there is the half-time whistle, and you can listen to what the Hibs fans make of that. They are absolutely livid from what they've seen from their team, and well, they have been poor, but you have to give enormous credit to St Mirren. Outstanding opening 45 minutes from them. It was fairly even in the opening quarter, or the opening 10-12 minutes, but then St Mirren got themselves in front when Kiltie went down under a challenge in the box. There was no penalty given initially, but after Ewan Anderson was sent to the monitor, he overturned the decision, gave a penalty. Mark O'Hara, as he did so many times last season, stepped up and just calmly rolled the ball in for the opener. And barely 2 minutes later, it was 2-0. O'Hara with the ball in behind for Toyosi Olasanya, who wasn't even down to start this match, in as a late replacement for Mikel Mandron. He was played in behind and just calmly passed the ball under David Marshall to double St Mirren's lead. And from then, the Buddies have been in almost complete control. Passes in the Hibs jerseys haven't been going to teammates, and the fans here are terribly unhappy. Still time to turn this around, but at half-time, it is Hibernian 0, St Mirren 2.
I think the one thing we could have guaranteed was that there would be a round of boos at half-time when the referee sounded the end of the first 45 minutes, and that's exactly what we got from those Hibernian fans. I guess from Stephen Robinson's point of view, if you're forcing the opposition manager to make 2 substitutions just 29 minutes into the first game of the season, and it's at your home stadium, then you know, as the away team, you are doing something right. And my goodness, Mirren really have done that throughout the course of the 45 minutes virtually. Very commanding 2-0 advantage right now. Of course, earlier in the weekend, the wins for Celtic, for Hearts, for Kilmarnock last night against Rangers, and the draws, Dundee, Motherwell, Livingston, Aberdeen. It was always going to be a big afternoon, always going to be a big 3 points for whichever side took them, if either side did. And of course, Hibernian still with 45 minutes to try to turn things around. But what a start to the campaign for Stephen Robinson and his team. Live second half commentary to come, and of course you can watch the highlights of this one, and if you've missed them, the highlights from the 5 matches from yesterday. Sport Team tonight, 7:15 on the BBC Scotland channel. In the week ahead, listen out for the Scottish Football podcast. It's daily, it's Monday to Friday. It gets published at BBC Sound. You get it at the website as well, bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland. And in terms of the live action, well, it's all about Europe a little bit later in the week. Wednesday, there's the Champions League third qualifying round. It's the first leg. It's at Ibrox. It's Rangers against Servette. You'll get that live on Sports Scene from 7:30 on Sports Sound from just after 7 o'clock. And both radio and TV coverage coming up on Thursday as well. Europa Conference, the third qualifying round. Again, the first leg there, Hibernian battling through last week. They will be at home to Luzern in the first leg. That's at 7:45 kick-off. Hearts, 6 o'clock start against Rosenborg in Norway. Live coverage, radio, and that Hibs Luzern game live on the telly as well. So lots to look forward to in the week ahead. Make sure you're with us here on Sports Sound and also live on Sports Scene too. As for the rest of the weekend coverage, well, it's a shell-shocked Easter Road, you would have to say. Well, following the opening 45 minutes, Stephen McGinn, I think you outed yourself as a St Mirren fan. I'm not sure that was really a case of outing yourself. I think we all knew. But my goodness, what 45 minutes for your old team.
I mean, it was a half of dreams to start the season. I think I spoke about with the 3-4-3 formation, how come to Easter Road against the wingers like Martin Boyle and Ellis Ewan, how it can be dictated into a 5-4-1 if you're not careful. You need to be really brave, really aggressive with it. And I think the front three of St Mirren have ran the game. They've totally dictated the whole game to St Mirren, to Hibs. And to the point now, you're looking at half-time, Hibs tried to get back into that game playing the way St Mirren play. They've changed to a 3-5-2 formation. They're trying to get the ball up early. They're taking time over to take a long throw in. St Mirren will deal with that all day. That's their game. For Hibs to try and get back into this game, they're going to have to be back to being Hibs and try and take the game to St Mirren in the way that Stephen Robinson be worried about the game came into the game, with Martin Boyle picking up high, as I said, dictating it to a 5-4-1, keeping St Mirren pinned back, because Marcus Fraser will have been coming to Easter Road for 10 years. He'll not have had an easier half of football in his whole career here. Usually you're really kept honest, you're at times one-on-one with a winger. He's had absolutely nothing to do.
Which is an indictment, I suppose, on Hibernian and their performance so far. John, you spoke beforehand about the
Well,
the attractive nature of football that Hibs can play at the top end of the park.
We talked at Hibs at the top of the pitch and how we thought they were exciting. So the front three have done nothing. Martin Boyle, Johan and Doige. To be fair to Boyle, he's had no service. Johan's had a lot of the ball and did absolutely nothing except give the ball away. And also, I'm questioning his desire and attitude. When you're in the front three, you're a striker when your team's got the ball at the back, but when the opposition's got the ball, you're a defender, and you've got to show more desire, sprinting, pressure, their fullbacks, their centre halves, making them play rush passes. That never happened with Hibs front three at all. But they identified the weakness. Stephen Robinson very early, Del Ferry, a right back. He's not a right back, and they identified the lack of pace in Hibs central defenders down the side. So they got their game plan spot on, St Mirren. And the worrying thing from Hibs is once they conceded the goal, there was a lack of, I think, thought in Hibs players. You're getting at the back and they're looking at the top of the pitch. Doige has got 3 central defenders, so it's 1 player v3. The 2 wing backs are tucked in, taking Johan and Boyle. That's not where you put the ball. You don't put the ball in the air when there's 1v3. You've got to work it through the phases of play. And that sometimes that was happening because at the back they were getting the ball and the midfield players were not making the angles to receive the ball. So I can blame the midfield players for not demanding the ball, but the back three, less long balls up the area. It's not working for Hibs. St Mirren are dealing with it so easily. But the manager's got a big team job to do in there, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Stephen, you were making the point that Hibs kind of almost switched to try to mirror the St Mirren approach, but the bottom line is that Hibs aren't St Mirren, and St Mirren they've been working, they know this formula inside out. They've been working on it all week long in training, and the games have already played this season. It comes almost naturally to them.
Yeah, as you say, get into a game, if you can get the game, if St Mirren can get the game to look at the way it's gone, it's the stuff of dreams. When you think about Mark O'Hara, Keanu Bacchus, and you're playing against Dylan Levitt, Joe Newell, Jake Doyle-Hayes, a 3v2 in midfield, you're thinking this could be a problem here. If they rotate, if they got on the ball, if they dictate the game to us, we're going to have a lot of work in our hands. But it's actually not been the case. It's not been a midfield battle at all. Almost all that's happened here is the St Mirren forwards have dictated the game to Hibs defence, created so much space for McMenamin and Kilty to come in, and then Bacchus and O'Hara are just supporting it. What the message will be in the St Mirren dressing room is, if you think the ball into Olasanya was on in the first half and we've had joy with it, it's going to be on times 10 in this second half. Hibs will start to commit bodies, it's going to be on all the time, and if we get that next goal, the game's completely gone. So reinforce the message of the ball to Olasanya, but also let's continue the game the way it's going. Let's keep it in the way we play, because we win this all day.
Yeah, I've got to say, I saw a bit of Olasanya last season. He was out on loan at Arbroath. I remember him scoring a last gasp equaliser up at Cole. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have anticipated him causing the kind of problems for a Premiership defence, but clearly he's a player who is more than capable of operating at this level. I've
spoke to a few of the boys and they said that he turned up for pre-season fitter, hungrier. You could tell there was a difference in him over the summer. And football can change. You aren't written off by one bad season, by one bad loan spell. He said a wee look at himself maybe and thought, no, I can do this in training, I can compete with these boys in training, but I need to get fitter. I need to come back and really have a go at this, because my St Mirren career, it wasn't looking good. I didn't have any high hopes for him coming back in the summer. In fact, I didn't even consider him as a part of the plans. But they've said he's came back fitter and hungrier, and in this form, he's been unplayable here.
Yeah, he has caused major issues, particularly for Fish and Hanlon. It is 2-0 for St Mirren at half-time. O'Hara got the first goal. It was from probably the longest delayed VAR decision I think we've encountered, John, and I fully appreciate that the ball hadn't gone out of play.
Yeah,
so
that's
they have to wait.
They have to
wait until that point.
The referee does have to wait.
But it had been so long that I think no one in the stadium was anticipating that we were going to be called back for that. And what did, I've got to say, back in the stand here, all day long looked like a trip by Greg Kilty, other than, as you boys picked up in the commentary, for one reason: the reaction of the player.
I think you can always tell with the reaction when it's so blatant and he's so animated and he's screaming at the referee, and you think, you know what, he's got to have been caught. because it'll be pretty embarrassing watching on the television later on at night when he's screaming, jumping about, and he's not being touched. So as soon as we went back to it, we both said the reaction, it looks like he's going to give the penalty.
And we've seen clips. There's
just
minimal
caught him.
contact, but he's caught him. It's a penalty.
It's minimum, and it's they're always given nowadays. Those are penalties. In the old days, they were called touches, and now they're called fouls, and you get penalties. It's frustrating, but that's the laws now.
One thing St Mirren can rely on, John, is Mark O'Hara stepping up from the spot. He's consummate, isn't he?
Yeah, cool, calm, collected. He just popped it in the corner, kept his cool, and did what he's done for the last few years. Put the ball on the back of the net on a regular basis. And then all of a sudden the first goal goes in, and that edginess, as we talked about, the crowd can be for you. Score the early goal and they're full of energy and they're singing. Concede a goal here sometimes and the fans can turn very quick, and they did. They started their bones, and all of a sudden it's second quick goal. The last thing that Hibs needed. Everything what St Mirren wanted. 2-0. Poor goal from Hibs' point of view. Two centre halves maybe on their heels, but centre forward, he's sharp, he's off the mark, Luciano, and he's tucked it away nicely. I think it's in between the goalkeeper's legs. 2-0 earlier in the game. It's a dream first 45 for St Mirren, an absolute killer from Hibs. But we've been there before. 2-0, it can be a dangerous score. Hibs get a goal, and then it's a transformation in the stands, and all of a sudden you can see players, they come alive, they look quicker, they look sharper. So that's the challenge for Hibs. Can they get the next goal?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dangerous score, but you still always rather be 2-0 up than 2-0 down.
Without a doubt, but at least they've got 45 minutes. The manager will be in there saying 45 minutes. If we get the next goal, all of a sudden there's a little bit nervousness creeps in. If you're 2-0 up and you lose the game, or it gets back to 2-0, you've seen it so many times. 2-0, complete control, command, all of a sudden 2-1, 2-2, bang. And opposition can be all over the place. But Hibs have to show more composure. They have to change their game plan. As I said before, we like Doidge, he's good in the air. There's no point throwing balls into him for him to flick it onto nobody. And I don't know how many times, maybe 4 or 5 times he got flick-ons, but you're just giving away possession.
The substitution of Del Ferrier, I mean, I think everyone in the stadium probably could see that one coming. It was almost an act of mercy. But Campbell going off?
Campbell was a surprise one. He didn't see any worse than anybody else on the pitch, and he is the one that, if you're looking for a goal, he's the one that often delivers. So it's kind of a strange one to take off when he is a goal threat. He's got a couple of goals during the week. He didn't look too happy when he was taken off, but that's the manager. Managers, you make these decisions. Sometimes you have a gut feeling, sometimes they work and you're the hero, or after the game they don't work, you're pillared in the media.
So John Collins ever hooked in the first half?
Don't think I've ever been hooked in the first half. Maybe wrong, but no, I don't think so. No,
you wouldn't admit it anyway, would you?
I wouldn't be telling anybody live on here if I was, but no.
Stephen,
I don't think
what happened to you?
Never in the first half, but I've not seen the second half quite often.
Well, certainly Del Ferrier and Campbell will be watching the second half, and so too will Lee Johnson, the Hibernian manager, who will be desperately hoping that he can turn things round. It has been a really, really difficult start for the home side to the league season. 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes. Mark O'Hara, it was much delayed. It was a VAR decision, but it was a penalty. We've seen the clips. It clearly was a penalty. Kilty caught by Newell. O'Hara sent Marshall the wrong way, and within 2 minutes it was Mark O'Hara who fed the ball through. He split the heart of the Hibernian defence, and Olasanya raced away from Fish and Hanlon to roll the ball through Marshall's legs and to double the advantage. At half-time, Hibernian 0, St Mirren 2. The players back out. Live second half commentary here on Sports Sound and BBC Radio Scotland with Stephen McGinn, John Collins and Thomas Duncan.
Thanks, Richard. Well, a bit of a mountain to climb, you have to say, for Hibs. Of course, if they get a quick goal, it all looks a lot rosier, and a chance to maybe make St Mirren a bit nervous. Thing or two to think about. Maybe get the crowd back on side. Heard the boos at half-time. St Mirren have only won one of their last 10 trips to Easter Road. Stephen Robinson's never won here as a manager of St Mirren or Motherwell, and he's 45 minutes plus the inevitable lengthy stoppage time away from doing just that. Mark O'Hara gets us underway in this second half at Easter Road. Ewan Anderson blows the whistle, and immediately it's played up towards McMenamin, but I suppose, John, you're looking for more composure from Hibs in this second half.
It's all decision making, so composure comes into that. You get the ball, you can't look for the furthest player up the park. More often than not, when the confidence is low, I said it, you look for the player closest to you. So they've got to get more confidence, more possession of the ball, more simple passes. But crowd's a big thing. Crowd sticks with you if you see every single player with instant reactions. You lose the ball, it's an instant 100% sprint to try and get back or try and press it. It's not a jog, it's not a three-quarter sprint. So that's the message of hope for the manager's got to these players. The fans will stay with us if they see you chasing and hounding.
Yeah, St Mirren, though, it was on the front foot. McMenamin put a decent ball into the box, but it was just over his teammates and it went through. But again, St Mirren getting the ball forward quickly, but it's not aimless, it's considered, and they get up the pitch. Hibs challenging in midfield. Levitt gets a foot in, he's done well, he's battling, but then he's lost out at the second attempt to McMenamin, who's had a good start here. It's well tracked back by Levitt, who goes back and pinches the ball, and then he's looking for Obita up the left hand side, but it's cut out. Strain then loses the ball. Here's Newell, looks for the run of Yuan in behind, but Gogic gets across and puts it out for a throw-in on this near side. And has a little shout at his teammates. Throw-in Hibs. Obita leaves the ball for Newell, who they can tell is going to wind this one up because Paul Hanlon and Will Fish are on their bikes. They're up into the penalty area. And it's an extra set piece which St Mirren, or Hibs rather, will look to take advantage of. Here is Newell, winds one up, flings it in up towards the edge of the 6-yard box. It's bobbing about in there. Fish just misses connecting with the ball, edge of the 6-yard box. He swung his right boot at it, and had he connected, he might have given Hibs a lifeline in this game. As it stands, he missed it.
It's the closest they've come to a goal, I think.
Yeah, and I think he was maybe unsighted as it came round the back of the defender, but it's the first time St Mirren have maybe looked a bit unconvincing when the ball's come into their box. Here's Obita, hooks it downfield for Hibs. Doidge wants a foul, doesn't get it, comes back towards Yuan. Richard Taylor wins the header and the second, and he's clattered into by Christian Doidge, and that looked a sore one. Doidge is protesting furiously. Newell's having a go at the ref. And there are these and it's a booking for Christian Doidge. He did clatter into Taylor late. I think he was frustrated, didn't get a foul in the first place. But there are new rules as well this season, or guidelines from UEFA down through the SFA to the referees, that if players surround the officials, they're going to get booked.
Again, we're looking at the reaction of Doidge. It looks like he says, I've won the ball, I've went for it, fully committed, but in fairness, he has caught him. It looks like he's caught him as well at the same time.
I thought it was quite harsh. He didn't lead with the elbow. He might have just caught him with the head late. It seems a bit harsh for a yellow card, but just hoping that Richard Taylor's okay now.
Yeah, the physio is twisting Richard Taylor's head from side to side on the deck, obviously checking he's not done any damage. He's lying flat on his back.
Strikers like Christian Doidge are punished enough when they lead with their arm. So when they don't lead with their arm, that's what will frustrate Christian Doidge. He'll take his yellows when he's maybe led with the arm, maybe he's caught him with his arm or his forearm. But when you're leading with your head, it's harsh to pick up a booking for that.
Yeah, well, Richard Taylor is on his feet. He's shaking his head from side to side. I hope he's okay. Looks it. He's signalling to the bench, speaking to Stephen Robinson, says I'm all right. And he'll continue, and St Mirren will continue with Zach Hemming, the goalkeeper, taking this free kick in his own half. Right-footed, long down the field. Stevenson goes up to challenge, loses out to McMenamin, who's got a good jump on him, and then Olasanya, who's ran the channels really effectively, and he's won his side. A throw in on the near side. St Mirren 2-0 in front against Hibs here at Easter Road. 4 minutes into the second half. Here's Strain looking for options, gives it to Bacchus, who gives it straight back first time to Strain on this right hand touchline. Gives it into the feet of Bacchus, back to Strain. He's not really got an opening for a cross, so he has to shift it infield. O'Hara gets there and he nips it away from Christian Doidge superbly, and then moves it on to Taylor. O'Hara gets it back, he's under a bit of pressure from Doyle Hayes. Back to Gogic, who drives forward and almost thought he'd overrun that, but he slid in and managed to get it to Taylor. And St Mirren on the move. It's left by Kiltie for Olasanya, left hand side of the box. He looks for Kiltie, the cut back, but it was cut out, and then an offside flag belatedly goes up. 2-0 St Mirren. And the game pattern of the game, Stephen, hasn't really changed too much.
No, St Mirren aren't going to change. They're not going to drop any deeper. I wonder if there's a consideration among the Hibs coaching staff to maybe take Lewis Stevenson or Jordan Obita back off and go back to the 4-3-3, because Hibs are only going to win this playing Hibs' way. They're not going to win this playing like St Mirren play.
Long way down the field from Marshall, flicked on by Doidge, who wins it this time. Obita goes after the seconds, but Strain won the header and then took the nudge from Obita and gets the free kick.
Once again, Doidge wins the header, but the players either side of him, they're no used to playing that flick on football.
Yeah, and you can see Doidge just growing more and more frustrated, both with the service and the fact that there's a few free kicks going against him. He's on a yellow card, so he'll need to watch. Hemming, the goalkeeper for St Mirren, signals, pushes his teammates over to the right hand side, and he's looking for McMenamin, who goes up, goes over him and Stevenson, and Olasanya's picked up, goes down, gets a free kick, corner of the box on the right hand side. Obita kind of just ran into him. Ewan Anderson blows the whistle, and it'll be a St Mirren free kick, right hand corner of the box, and a chance to whip this in.
Dangerous area. It was a free kick, the referee's called it right. I don't know what Obita's on about, having a go at the referee. His foot was high, caught him on the chest.
I think Del Ferrer, we were harshly probably criticising him because it's not his position, yes. But Jordan Obita has been signed here as a starting Hibs player, and he looks to have been caught out by the pace of the game.
Yeah, he's a left back, playing left wing back now that they've shifted this formation, as the guys pointed out in the first half. And St Mirren, right hand side of the box, and it's McMenamin who's fancying it. Strain is also over it as well. It's a good crossing opportunity. It's the left foot of McMenamin right to the back post, but it's over everyone, including Mark O'Hara, who was the last man, and out for a goal kick. Marshall tries to go quickly and is closed down, and the Hibs fans want urgency, but the Hibs players need composure, calmness. They've still got time to get back in this game, trailing by 2-0. O'Hara and Olasanya, the scorers for St Mirren in the first half, in the space of 2 minutes. Flicked on by Boyle up towards Ewan. Again, no Taylor wins the ball, and it's out for a throw-in on the far side. And St Mirren are just eating up this kind of direct play that Hibs are favouring at the moment.
They're playing into St Mirren's hands. There'll be the manager there rubbing his hands. Long balls up.
Doidge wins one this time and tries to get it into the path of Ewan, but Fraser read it, hooked it away. Here's Levitt, middle of the pitch. He's being bypassed a lot of the time, but he's moved it on. There's Fish, who gives it and then makes a run. Boyle jinks inside, gives it to Levitt, 30 yards out, and he's tried to play it into the path of Boyle, and Ewan goes after it. Taylor defends it well, holds off Ewan, takes a touch in his own box, and then moves it out to the left hand side, and Tanzer thumps it off of Jake Doyle-Hayes and out for a throw into St Mirren on the far side. 2-0. The Buddies lead here at Easter Road, and we've played 8 minutes, Stephen, in this second half, and yet to see an upturn in Hibs' fortunes or play, really.
No, but it was a bit better there from Dylan Levitt, a clever wee side pass, and St Mirren weren't expecting it. They're just waiting in the big diagonal, and he mixed it up and it caused them a bit of problems. So Dylan Levitt and Joe Newell and Jake Doyle-House have to get on the ball, or else there was no point in taking Josh Campbell off, because he's the only one that gets in beyond Christian Doidge.
And there's a ball up the right hand side. Kilty's come across to fetch it midway through the Hibs half. He's forced backwards by Paul Hanlon, Hibs captain for the season, and it's played up the line, and McMenamin gets a ricochet of the ball, and then he loses out in the end to Stevenson, and Levitt again looks for the long pass of Doidge, who's stretching those long legs of his, and he gets there. It's good running out on the left from Christian Doidge. He's held it up, he's back to Obika, who's in support, into Ewan. He's played the first time pass to Newell, who's down left hand side of the box, crosses it low to the near post. Richard Taylor's there to clear out to the throw-in on the near side. Much better from Hibernian, who trailed by 2-0.
Much better, because all of a sudden it's short passes, players making runs.
Obita cross with the right foot, again dealt with fairly comfortably at the first attempt by St Mirren. Hibs have it back. Hanlon, first time pass to Boyle, right hand side, he's taking a touch, he's driving infield, he's using those quick feet of his, but O'Hara again gets in, then it's given away, and then St Mirren recover, and it's ballooned down the pitch by Tanzer, and Hibs have it back. Levitt, almost a heavy touch, which Bacchus looked to profit from, but Dylan Levitt did just get the pass away. Stevenson again looks for the long ball to Doidge. He's flicked that onto Boyle, who's picked up the scraps. 20 yards from goal, he's going to shoot with the right foot. It's blocked by Scott Tanzer. Throw in on the far side, but Hibs, just as I said, they hadn't really upped the intensity. They've managed to get things going in the last minute or so, 10 minutes into this second half, trailing by 2-0. Stevenson, Obita, left-hand touchline, takes the touch infield, then checks back. Good run up the left from Stevenson, but the pass from Obita's too far in front of him. Stevenson's kept it in, but McMenamin was able to just nick back and get the ball. Here's Olasanya battling with Obita, still going Olasanya. Hanlon goes in with a sliding challenge and he's won the free kick. And well, what a game he's had. Tayosi Olasanya, goal scorer, and he's ran the channels ever so well.
That's unbelievable play from Olasanya. It's for the first time St Mirren look a wee bit out of shape. Hibs have had a wee bit of joy, and he wins a ball he's no right to win, and then ends up earning a foul off of Paul Hanlon.
And the rain is coming down at Easter Road out of nowhere. It's fairly bright, a few clouds around, but the heavens have opened. Strain with a free kick from deep, right foot, headed away by Fish, only as far as O'Hara, who sends it back with a head. Fish gets back up just ahead of Olasanya, who's come back though and won it. Out to the feet of Taylor, then O'Hara, first time little pass round the corner, out to the left where Tanzer is, going to cross from deep. He's not got a hold of that at all, and it's cleared from just at the edge of the box by Levitt. Taylor with a touch, poor touch to Boyle, who can only pass it straight back to Gogic, who then gives it away to Doyle Hayes. Scrappy stuff. Doyle Hayes looks for the running behind of Boyle. He's going to get there. No, he's not. Yuan does though, and head of Gogic out on the right hand side, tries to go by Gogic, gets the ball into the box. It's onto the shoulder of Christian Deutsch, who can't control it. He tried to control it or perhaps steer it across to Boyle, who was in support inside the box, but just came off his shoulder, and St Mirren were able to get in and relieve the danger. Here's Newell, Hibs come again, lifted over for Yuan, who's got their head of Taylor. He's into the box, up to the edge of the 6-yard box. It's Yuan! It's wide, saved by Hemming. He flung himself at the ball, and I think it's come off the legs and spun behind for a corner kick.
His pace as usual has got him to the byline, but does he make the right choice? A hard angle. I think he's got to be cutting that back for Deutsch for a little tap in.
Yeah, he should be looking to cut it back, but I think for the first time Hibs are making Richard Taylor defend. He's switched off there, he's been totally done for pace there. It is an area of the park Hibs cannot exploit.
Corner to Hibs over on the far side. It's going to come in, their crowded penalty into the near post, and Fish got the header, but it was miles off target. And he is a threat from set pieces, that's for sure.
Much better 5 minutes from Hibs. Confidence is coming back, they're making passes, they're getting in behind, looking livelier. Looking a little bit shaky.
Yeah, a big moment for Zach Emmons at the start of his St Mirren career. It didn't really quite happen from last year at Kilmarnock. He's got big gloves to fill with Trevor Carson leaving. That could be a big save in the context of the match.
Yeah, he rushed out and he was celebrating the save as if it was a goal. The goalkeeper, as you say, Stephen, started off first choice at Killie last season, but he got an injury and a couple of errors and ended up very much on the bench for the rest of the campaign. But he was outstanding for Kilmarnock in the Championship, so we'll see what he's got. As you say, not an easy feat to fill the gloves of Trevor Carson, who's of course off to Dundee. And here's Stevenson midway through the St Mirren half of the throw, and he's thrown it over the head of Bacchus to Yuan, who's taken a good touch, but then he's crowded out and Bacchus gets in there. Really good challenge, uses his backside to shield the ball. Then McMenamin back to Strain, whose clearance is blocked by Stevenson out for a throw-in. Hibs just trying to get up the pitch and pin St Mirren back. They did it in the first 10 minutes, but then since the goals, there's not been a huge sign of it. And Marcus Fraser trots up to take the throw-in, and he's looking for options. He's going to just fling it up the touchline, Marcus Fraser. McMenamin loses out, and here is Doyle Hayes. Levitt under pressure from McMenamin, goes back to Hanlon midway through his own half. The Hibs captain rolls it across the Fish out to the right hand side, and Boyle, who's had a lot more touches in this half, he tried to go around the outside there, and the challenge went in, and now St Mirren are on the counter. Kiltie running up midway through the Hibs half. He's offloaded it to Olasanya left hand side, out to Tanzer, who's going to get the left footed cross in, blocked by Fish, and it's out for a throw in on the far side, the left hand side. St Mirren still leading Hibs by 2-0 as we approach the hour mark here at Easter Road. St Mirren, what a first half it was for them. O'Hara receives the throw in back to Tanzer. He's crossed it, it's not a great one. McMenamin tries to make the most of it, and then Olasanya really pressurises Hanlon before he can clear, and he's been a nuisance all afternoon to Uzi Olasanya. Here comes O'Hara, left hand side. He's played it into the underlapping on a Kilty. Can he fetch this? He can. He puts it to Olasanya at the near post. Good defending from Hanlon to clear. St Mirren putting the pressure on. I think there's going to be a change. Brian McLaughlin can tell us about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a change, and it's going to be Martin Boyle who's going to be coming off after playing 60 minutes this afternoon, and he's going to be replaced by the 36-year-old striker. Signed his last club was Mumbai City, Adam Lafondre.
Yeah, well, I mean, Martin Boyle obviously is not back up to full fitness and speed. Only played his first competitive match against Inter Club de Scaldes on Thursday. Need to be careful with him.
Yeah, 100%. He's been out for a long time, 6 months.
And here's Hanlon under pressure again from Olasanya. He came across nicely and intercepted, and then he's cleared it up the touchline. But St Mirren, after being under pressure for a couple of minutes, have just got themselves up the pitch, and now Hibs are forced to defend. Throw in to the feet of Kilty, turns away, and he's dinked that over, and it's going to be there for Tanzer, and he's going to accept the corner kick because it came off a nick off the Hibs player, and St Mirren will have the corner over on the left hand side, and a chance once more to put Hibs under pressure. 2-0 they lead, and it's going to be Strain who goes across to take this, and Gogic is prowling the edge of the area. He's moving up, and St Mirren, they've put a lot of them to the back post. There's no one standing there at the moment. Richard Taylor is on the edge of the 6-yard box. Here's Strain's corner into the near post this time. Doidge gets up to clear towards the edge of the box. It's flicked on to McMenamin, out to the left hand side again where Strain is. He's going to put it in with the right foot, headed on by Taylor, and then here is O'Hara out on the right hand side. Flag goes up. O'Hara must have been offside. These late flags, and St Mirren leading by 2-0. 17 played in the second half.
A big part of St Mirren's strength last year was that partnership early on with Junge and Curtis Main, and I think Curtis Main probably the best season of his career. But in terms of this St Mirren front three, they've looked absolutely devastating at times. You've got the pace of Olasanya. McMenamin puts a shift in. He's tricky. He's been really good in the air against Lewis Stevenson. And Greg Hilty's so intelligent dropping into those areas that the Hibs centre halves don't know what to do with him. So a real positive for the St Mirren fans.
Big round of applause for Martin Boyle, a fan favourite round here. Not been his day, and they're looking after him as he makes his comeback. And as Brian told us moments ago, Adam Lafondre is on the pitch, the experienced striker, and he's gone straight up to centre forward to play alongside Doidge, who wins the flick on from the goal kick. Then Obita wins the seconds, up to Lafondre, gets his first touch. He's up against Gogic right on the near side, and it's gone out for a throw in. Lafondre wanted a free kick, felt he was shoved in the back there.
Looked like a free kick.
Yeah, it's one of those where they felt the contact and went down, but it's given as a throw in, and Marcus Fraser will take, launches it up the touchline, flicked on by McMenamin, who's won an awful lot of headers for St Mirren, and then it's a long ball. Taylor's under pressure from Doidge, they're tussling, and it's won by the defender, and then Fraser lumps it long. Hanlon under it at the other end. Taylor getting a bit more of a challenge in this second half. Here's McMenamin right hand side for St Mirren, though he's taking it a run. Stevenson gets in front of him. Now he's trying to shepherd it out, then manages to get the clearance up the touchline, claims for the throw in, and it definitely did not take a nick off McMenamin, and it'll be a St Mirren throw in this near side in line with the edge of the Hibs penalty area. St Mirren leading by 2-0. Those first half strikes, 15 minutes O'Hara from the penalty spot after Kilty was fouled, 17 minutes Olasanya stuck it calmly past Marshall, and that's the difference between the sides. Throw-in comes in, then McMenamin tries it, I don't know if that was a cross or a shot, but it goes straight to David Marshall in any case with a left foot, and on they go. Marshall plays quickly. Here's Yuan dropping very deep. He's run it up to over the halfway line now. He's looking for a pass, tries the left-footed pass, but he just hits straight off Scott Tanzer, who then plays it down the touchline straight to Will Fish, and Hibs just not getting anywhere near St Mirren's goal at the moment. They need something. 20 minutes nearly played in this second half, and they trail by 2-0. That one chance for Yuan and the one for Fish, which didn't quite fall for him. The two opportunities in this second half that they've had, and not made the most of, and that's missed by Tanzer. Now Ewan's down the right hand side, he's running into the box, he's cut it back towards Joe Newell, but it just didn't have the pace, the pass, and it allowed Gogic to turn back and clear. And now here's Bacchus midway through his own half, gives it to Kiltie. He's trying to get up the pitch, he's nudges it onto Bacchus, but Will Fish puts his foot through it, and it's out for a throw in on the far side. Hibs 0, St Mirren 2.
Again, earlier, Johan, it can be so frustrating. He gets into good positions, and you think the simple thing to do now is just a simple cut back, and he sclaffs it. He doesn't even connect correctly. Not only that, they counter-attack. That's the danger. When there's 3-4 bodies getting in the box and it's short, the opposition counter-attack you.
It's a frustrating thing for the Hibs fans, because Ellie Ewan's got that many options. I mean, Scott Tanzer's tried to gamble on it, he's totally missed it. Ellie Ewan's got that many options, and he just doesn't make any sort of connection with the ball.
Well, Hibs need some answers, and here's Stevenson trying to take it by the scruff of the neck, charges over halfway out to Obita on the left hand side, but St Mirren get back and just double up on the wing back, and the cross can't go in, and then goes deep to Stevenson, who does get the cross in towards Doidge, who loses out to Taylor, claims for a foul. It goes all the way through to Ewan on the right hand side, tries a cross with the right foot, blocked by Tanzer, and then he clears it at the second attempt down the field, and Doidge is getting frustrated, and then O'Hara picks up for St Mirren, and he's prodded this in behind for Olasanya, who looks like he's very much struggling in terms of what he's got left in the tank. There's going to be a change for St Mirren. Brian?
Yeah, I think the tank is empty because Toyosi Olasanya is going to be replaced. The player coming on will be the New Zealand international Alex Grieve. An impact last season mainly on the bench, but he is going to be coming on for Olasanya, who of course should have been starting the game on the bench.
Yeah, well, Alex Grieve got a goal for St Mirren the last time these sides met, and he'll be coming on shortly. Ewan tries to play it in behind for Lafondra. He gets across the grass really well out to the right hand side. He's crossed this to the back post, but the cross is not a good one. It's over everyone all the way, and Obita's just going to keep it in on the left hand side. In fact, he takes a touch, and that looked out. St Mirren are saying so, they've stopped, and the referee does signal that it was out.
It's a disappointing ball. It's far too long overhit, but Obita should have got that. He should have stopped that, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's got to keep that in, but Olasanya set a standard here for his St Mirren career. As I said, it's really not got going before this season, but what a big performance that's been from them.
Yeah, the fans here from Paisley, a little corner of the stand away to our right, and they are applauding Toyosi Olasanya. A goal, an all-round outstanding performance. He gets the congratulations of the St Mirren bench, takes his seat, and Alex Grieve will try and have a similar impact as his teammate as he takes to the field. Throw in from Fraser up the touchline, flicked on by McMenamin. Grieve chases after it, but it goes out, and Hibs will have the throw in. But I wonder, interesting to see how Lafondra goes, because he's got a good goal scoring record in his career, but 36 now, and spells in India, Australia. Obviously he knows Brian McDermott, the Hibs technical director, from when they were in the Premier League at Hibs, and it's up towards Doidge, headed away by Taylor, back to Tanzer, who's almost on the byline, but he's under minimal pressure. Ewan approaches, and then Tanzer sends it long. Grieve is tussling with Fish. Fish gets a header on it, and then Levitt, but it's passes straight to McMenamin. He's charging towards the edge of the box. He's got Stevenson for company. He's into the box, right hand side, right at the corner. Turns back, he's forced back, and then he's clipped by Stevenson. No foul, says the referee. Goes into the box, headed away, and then Levitt picks up. Advantage being played as Lafondra hits the deck. Here's Ewan, he's one-on-one with Tanzer. He's going to go outside him. He does go outside him. He's up to midway through the St Mirren half on the touchline, up to in line with the box, puts the cross in. It's to the back post, and Strain nods it away, but Obita's going to pick it up on the left hand side, the wing back. He's under pressure from Fraser, has to go back to Stevenson, who's thought about the cross from deep, gives it back to Obita, gives it infield to Newell. Left hand side for Hibs. It's 3-on-2 though in favour of St Mirren. Alex Grieve working extremely hard to get back. Here's Newell, and every time it goes into the wide areas, St Mirren are so effective at just stopping the crosses.
Yeah, even when McMenamin's down with injury, St Mirren still managed to smother Hibs into a 4v3, and they really can't get any space to create anything.
Cross from Newell is low and easily dealt with, and then St Mirren clear. Hanlon goes back towards his own goal, and McMenamin, who's not stopped running all afternoon here at Easter Road, puts him under pressure, but they go back to Marshall, the goalkeeper. Levitt drops in, spreads it out towards the touchline on the right hand side where Will Fish is, gives it to Ewan, gives it back to Levitt, looks up, moves it on to Doyle Hayes, who's in the centre circle, crosses halfway now, he's taking it a little run, feeds Stevenson on the left hand side, very deep, he's got Grieve for company, moves it infield to Doyle Hayes, now to Obita, who Hibs, whenever they get the ball out on one side or the other, they've got a black shirt around them. Here's Doyle Hayes, chips it to Fish, Yuan right on the right hand side, very deep, infield for Newell, gives it back, and St Mirren just stay in their shape, force Hibs back, and then Levitt is dispossessed, nipped in front of, and St Mirren go on the counter. Here's Grieve, midway through the Hibs half, he's up towards the box, he's got options, he takes a shot on, blocked by Paul Hanlon. Good defending in the end, but again slack from Hibs in the middle of the park. They trail by 2-0.
Young Levitt, he gives the ball away in the middle of the pitch, goes down to ground, takes far too long to get up, and it's a jog back. It's never a jog back, it's a sprint back. Small details that make a difference.
Well, Hanlon bailed out his teammate, and it's going to be a throw-in on this near side to St Mirren, leading by 2-0. 26 minutes played in the second half, less than 20 to play plus of the 90. Throw in Grieve, he's turned away from Levitt and eventually dispossessed in the box. Newell comes away, he's given it to Lafondra, who's got Doidge in support, he stretches the legs, Doidge is going to look for the pass to the back post, here's Adam Lafondra, it's in! Hibs have won back at Easter Road!
Absolutely magnificently worked goal, the first piece of total football in opposition's half in the whole game, and what happens is a goal. Starts with Joe Newell here, middle of the park, drives forward, plays a superb ball. Does it go to Christian Doidge? What a delivery from Doidge. It's an inch perfect pass, and Lafondra, a terrific finish right in the bottom corner, no power but accuracy. Game on.
I think Hemmings could save it. I think it seems to get in really slow, but what St Mirren manager will be so angry about is from Alex Grieve not slipping in Greg Kiltie for what looked like 3-0. They get a throw in the attacking area. How can you get countered on so badly? They were wide open. Hibs have still got a lot of work to do, amazing counter-attack, but how can you get counter-attacked on from your own throw?
Well, there's a possible, there is an offside check, and decision is goal. There we go. Quick one there, goal being checked. That is Adam Lafondra's first goal for Hibs, and it was, as you say, right-footed. He just put it low into the corner. It's exactly where he should put it, but it didn't have a great deal of pace. The goalkeeper didn't get there, and Hibs have a lifeline, and suddenly this place, well, they were all on their feet around us. There's something to shout about, and now we'll see what St Mirren are made of as we approach the half-hour mark in this second half. Hibs with a goal back, still trailing by 2-1, and Marshall receives the throw in his own box, and it's brought out by Hanlon, and that was a good counter-attack, and fair play to Doidge, because he's not known for his pace, but he got to that pass, stretched the legs, and there he's chested it here to Doyle Hayes. Yuan out on the right hand side, he's going to take on Tanzer, puts the cross in over the head of Newell, cleared. Stevenson will scramble back, and Easter Road has come to life. Here's Obita, left hand side, he's going to try and take on Strain, he goes inside him, that's brilliant from Obita, low cross, blocked by Bacchus, behind for a corner kick. Hibs smell blood now.
It's incredible, what a goal. As we said at half time, all of a sudden Hibs players are looking sharper, and the St Mirren players are looking a little bit leggier.
Doyle Hayes is across to the near side, puts both hands in the air, he's ready to take, right-footed, whips it into the middle of the penalty area. Taylor's header, it's not gone away though, and O'Hara had to hook it away. St Mirren, as John just said, all of a sudden don't look quite so confident. Cross comes in, it's flicked on by Doidge, straight down Hemmings' throat, but immediately crosses that were nowhere near their intended target suddenly finding Hibs' heads, and there is still time, still 15 minutes plus whatever is added for Hibs to find an equaliser and perhaps even a winner. David Marshall claims the ball as it trundles through to him, rolls out to Fish, checks back, gives it to Levitt, who's dropping deep into his own half, moves it to Stevenson, the left back, up to Obita, and that was a little flash from Obita, got inside his man. We've not seen too much of that so far, managed to get inside Strain, moments ago. Long from Marshall, up towards Lafondra, who's fouled by Marcus Fraser. Ewan Anderson blows the whistle, and suddenly those fouls are going Hibs' way.
Did well, Lafondra there. It was cute, just backed into Marcus Fraser, bought the foul.
And it's going to be a free kick, about, it's very deep, 40 yards away. Doyle Hayes and Newell are going to just try and stick this in the box. St Mirren with a high line on the edge of the D in their own box. It's going to be Newell with a left foot, floats it in towards Doidge. It's flicked on by Fish. Then Fraser gets the header out towards the far side. It's helped on its way out the box by Mark O'Hara, and then O'Greave gets there, but he can only put it out for a Hibs throw in on the far side. Hibs trailing by 2-1 here. And there's going to be another change for St Mirren. Brian McLaughlin.
Yeah, Caelan Boyd-Munce is going to be coming on. He's going to be replacing Conor McMenamin for the last 15 minutes or so, and there may be another couple of changes as well going to be made by St Mirren. We're just discussing exactly what those are going to be, but Boyd-Munce is coming on and he'll be replacing McMenamin.
Caelan Boyd-Munce, Northern Ireland Youth International, joined in January. I remember at the time Stephen Robinson saying he wasn't going to play much of a part last season because he barely played any football, had a spell without a club, but always had a full pre-season. See what he can do, and he's on the pitch in place of McMenamin, who I have to say, Stephen, was impressive.
Yeah, he was excellent. Really impressed with him. I think he's going to have a real good St Mirren career. I think the introduction of Adam Lafondra, a bit like Olasonia in the first half, he started to dictate the game to the St Mirren defence, and it's changed it. He's brought a hunger and an enthusiasm to the Hibs team, and St Mirren don't need to just deal with Christian Doidge now. They've all of a sudden got Adam Lafondra to deal with.
Yep, a double team up there, and Hibs have committed a lot forwards. Newell is now up there, Doyle Hayes is up there. It's gone forward from Fish towards Lafondra. Gogic gets the header, but it only goes as far as Doyle Hayes on the edge of the box, gets it back from Newell, and he's lofted it out to the left hand side of the box where Obita collects, goes back towards his own goal briefly, then puts it in. Lafondra gets the header up and over the bar onto the roof of the net, but it's just a lot sharper, John, from Hibs.
Much better. All of a sudden the passing's crisper, the movement's better, the decision making's better, more options for the man in possession. All of a sudden players' body language is better, they're all wanting the ball. Nice to see, much better.
Still trailing though by 2-1. We're into the final 12 and a half minutes of the 90 here at Easter Roads, and Hanlon wins the header. Doidge picks up and he's moved it wide to Yuan, who's got space in front of him midway through the St Mirren half, almost trips but regains his composure, and he's gone right round outside of Tanzer. He's put up to the back post. Obita gets a header, and then Hemming collects it in front of Adam Lafondra and just hits the deck and says, right, I'll eat up a few seconds here.
Better for Johan, getting to the byline, good delivery at the back post. Hasn't done that enough today.
Hemming signals that he wants his team to move towards the right hand side, and he puts it up in the air. Lewis Stevenson misreads, lets it bounce, but Hanlon deals with it, right-footed clearance downfield. Gogic heads it back to the feet of Johan on halfway, comes back inside, good pass through the lines to Newell, then he looks to the run of Obita in behind, Strain's fallen, but Hemming is quick off his line to get there ahead of the Hibs fullback, and then there's a stoppage here for an injury. Ryan Strain hit the deck and he's clutching his leg. Ewan Anderson's over checking he's okay, but just lost his footing as he tried to turn and chase the ball in behind.
Betting man, he'll get up and run away, sprint off.
Yeah, St Mirren not in any rush, shall we say. But Hemming, as you say, Stephen, I wonder if he'll look back at that Lafondra goal and think he maybe could have done better.
He almost seemed to go to ground just too early. I think he was caught by surprise with how slow he's actually hit the shot. Adam Lafondra lines it up as if he's going to hit this pile driver, and Hemmings just seemed to be on the ground dead early, and it ends up creeping into the bottom corner. But St Mirren just need to try and kill this game, take the momentum right out of Hibs.
Hanlon wins the header from the free kick down the goal kick down the pitch, and then Fish is coming away out of defence, tries the ball into Lafondra, but Gogic read it and he's put it back down to David Marshall, who's had to come out his box on the right hand side. He's under pressure from Grieve, gets it away to Fish, but then it's nipped in by Kilty, who's got the challenge. Then Bacchus picks up, Stevenson commits the foul, and he's going to get, oh no, it's a yellow card for Keanu Bacchus for diving. He is, and he doesn't really complain. Stevenson did just kind of stand his ground, put his hands up in the air, and Ewan Anderson has said, "You're at it, Keanu," and he's in the book.
To be honest, I thought it was a foul.
Yeah, well, Bacchus didn't protest too strongly, but it's one of those ones, given either way, I suppose you're not too fussed. But here's Marshall, free kick, long, looking for Doidge, who's been excellent in the second half, wins the header yet again, but O'Hara wins the seconds. Then Levitt pushes in the back, and St Mirren, get the free kick, and there's going to be a change for Hibernian. Brian.
Yeah, it's the third time there's been a change for Hibernian, so this will be the final time to be able to make a change. James Jago is going to be coming on. He's going to be replacing Jake Doyle-Hayes. It's 4 substitutions. They did have an opportunity to use one more, but they've used all 3. They used 2 in the first half. They brought off Martin Boyle, and now they've put taken off Jake Doyle-Hayes. So the 3 spells that they have to make substitutions, they've now gone.
Thanks, Brian. Well, Hibs have got themselves back in this game. That goal from Adam Lafondra. They're trailing still by 2-1. Goals in the first half from O'Hara and Olusanya, who's a late addition to the St Mirren 11 after Mandron pulled out in the warm-up. And St Mirren heading for opening day victory, but we're not done yet. Final 9 minutes of the 90. Fish at the back, header up to the left back position. Stevenson has to play it first time up, but it comes back from St Mirren, then at the feet of Newell, and he goes back to Hanlon, who's racing back to fetch the ball inside his own box. Squares it to Ewan, who's in the right back position, gives it back to Fish at centre half. Little dink over to the left back position where Stevenson is, moves it on to Newell over halfway, over to Obita, left hand side. Again, he's got 2 black shirts in front of him, goes for the first time cross. Doidge slides in, can't quite get there. Levitt on the edge of the box. Here's Ewan inside the box, cross, Doidge! Hibs level! Christian Doidge sprints off to the east stand, slides on his knees, and he's jumped on by teammates. Hibs have come back from the dead. A ball in from Ewan, Doidge tucks it away, and it's Hibs 2, St Mirren 2.
If there's one player that deserved a goal for his second half performance, it's Christian Doidge. He's given everything for his teammates. He's been throwing poor balls in the air, he's been getting his head to it, he's made the first goal with the final pass, he's chased everything, and that's just fell nicely for him. Tucked it in the bottom corner. Superb comeback from Hibs, and they can still get another one here. There's enough time. I told you, momentum shifts. 2-0's a dangerous score.
Well, Christian Doidge, Stephen, the unlikely hero of Hibs' opening few games in the season.
Yeah, I thought he came alive again at Kilmarnock. It was a brilliant loan spell for him, and as John said, he's been Hibs' best player here. One thing Hibs did there that they've not done enough in this game, St Mirren players have to work really hard across the pitch. They moved it quickly, crisply, got it down the side of them, a brilliant ball in from Obita, and you end up getting right back into the game, and it's there for them if they really want it, Hibs.
And Easter Road is bouncing with anticipation. Still 7 minutes left for either side to find a winner, but Hibs have all the momentum now. That disjointed first half, long since forgotten.
All of a sudden they're passing the ball. That's the difference. They're passing the ball to each other. Shorter passes, less long punts up the pitch. They're a much better team when they do that.
I know he can't run all for 95 minutes, but Grieve coming on for Olusanya, all of a sudden Paul Hanlon stepped onto things, Will Fish has stepped onto things, they're passing it to the midfielders, to the wing backs higher, and it's just a totally different proposition for the St Mirren defence.
St Mirren, all of a sudden Hibs get a goal and the tendency is, okay, now we've got to go protective mode. They've dropped probably 10 yards, which made it easier for the central defenders to step forward. But they deserved the equaliser.
Sorry, John. Yeah, they're throwing on this near side now. Over 17,500 confirmed inside Easter Road, and the vast majority of them, apart from those here from Paisley over to our right, are enjoying their afternoon now. But it's only a point apiece as it stands. Fish dinks it forward. Lafondra wins the flick on, and then Obita battles with Bacchus, wins it. Stevenson sends it back with a head. Gogic up in the air. Suddenly Hibs are winning everything. Stevenson, Doidge, Fraser in his own box has to hook it away. It's not convincing. Luckily for him, it falls to Strain, and he's had to force it out for a throw-in on this near side. And the crowd here smell blood. They want a winner into the final 5 minutes of the 90. Hibs throw on this near side. Obita with the chance to throw, and Newell is there. I wonder if he'll take over, and he will, and he's going to launch this in. And the crowd like that one. Joe Newell disappears from our sight here in the main stand as he takes a huge run up, gets there, flings it in towards Doidge. St Mirren clear out of their box. Jago back to Stevenson, cross from deep with the left foot. Taylor wins the header out to the right hand side, and Yuan, who got that assist for the equaliser, right footed cross in towards Doidge. Header flashes up and wide, but again it's just better quality in the final third from Hibs.
Again, it's too far away for the goal for him to realistically expect him to score and hit the target. But once again, Christian Doidge, he gets his head to it. How many times has he hit the ball in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. And it just says, you said, Stephen, you know, you can't write off players after one season. You know, he's shipped out on loan. They've obviously signed Dylan Fenta from Roda, Hibs, new number 9, but Doidge is saying, I'm here, and Yuan's got the ball in his own half. He's under pressure, but he uses that pace to get away from O'Hara, over halfway out to the right hand touchline, and then he's got a free kick, which he tries to take quickly and then stops. And he's wants to be involved in everything now, Ellie Yuan. He's popping up at right back, he's trying to take the ball out from defence, but he leaves it for Newell to take just inside the St Mirren half, and Hibs are going to get the heavies forward.
You should just give it to Johan.
Free kick from deep up towards Fish and Hanlon. It goes over Fish and Gogic, and it's going to run out for a goal kick unless it can be kept in by Lafondre. He has kept it in. Obita cross with the left foot into the box. Doidge wins a header. It falls for Levitt. Hemming saves, and then Strain has to clear it out on this near side. Hibs with their tails up.
Lafondre, unbelievable attitude, chasing lost causes to keep that in. That's the difference. That's what wins you games.
Here's Obita, left hand side. Cross comes in, headed by Tanzer unconvincingly, but it falls for Strain on the other side of the box. He hooks it, doesn't get it so far, only as far as Levitt, who's right on the near touchline in front of the main stand here at Easter Road. Manages to turn, gets the pass into Newell, out to Obita on the left hand side. Newell back, he's going to line up across from deep with the left foot, goes again towards Doidge. Taylor wins the header. Yuan tries to get onto it in the edge of the box. It's cleared by O'Hara, and now St Mirren can't get out their own half. Yuan, he's going to run past Tanzer to collect this pass, and then Tanzer just manages to get back and put it out for a throw-in. But the tempo of the game from Hibs has gone up tenfold.
I mean, it's an incredible difference from the end of the first half to what we're seeing at this moment in time. It's just confidence, belief.
88 minutes almost played here at Easter Road. Hibs 2, St Mirren 2. There's going to be 5 added on. Newell flings in the ball near post. Tanzer heads it away. Here's Stevenson, who's the only Hibs player back in the centre circle, sends it straight back to Yuan, who gets a lovely flick on out to the right hand side. It's going to cross, comes into the back post, but it's straight to Zach Hemming, who collects, and he's going to roll it out, and St Mirren are on the march. It's stretched, it's exciting, it's fast paced. Bacchus up to halfway, moves it out to Kiltie on the right hand touchline for St Mirren. He's going to try and take on Levitt. He gets the cross in to Grieve. He's headed into the corner. Alex Grieve sprints off, cups his ear to the away fans, who jump for joy because out of nothing St Mirren have regained the lead. Alex Grieve with a superb header. Hibs 2, St Mirren 3, right at the death.
Wow, a minute ago you're thinking St Mirren can just get to full time 2 each, lick their wounds and move on. They've gone and snatched it right at the end. They've not laid a glove on Hibs for about 10-15 minutes, and they break away, catch Hibs. Hibs didn't get back in quick enough. A brilliant ball from Greg Kiltie, and what a header from Alex Grieve.
The 88th minute, incredible. And John, Hibs just left wide open.
What a blow. It actually comes from Joe Newell. Wonderful left foot, he's put it in the goalkeeper's hands. Normally his delivery is so good, straight for the goalkeeper, the counter attack, and it's a wonderful cross out in the box on the right hand side. And I don't know who played it in, and was there 2 central defenders in the box, 1 centre forward, I'll have to see it again in the replay, but a disappointing goal from Hibs to concede.
Well, what a game we've had here. at Easter Road. It's gone one way, then the other, and St Mirren are back in front. Incredible. Hibs not done though. Obita battling right up on the left-hand side. He's going to get a cross in here with the left foot. Hemming comes, he gets a punch on it, only as far as UN edge of the box. Levitt takes a shot, it's deflected. Has that come off a hand? Hibs think it has. Cleared downfield by Strain. Well, and the fourth official puts up the board for 5 minutes of added time. Well, that I didn't quite see whether that came off of a hand or not, but Hibs were convinced.
It very much looked like Alex Gogic's knee, and he actually celebrated it. I don't think you celebrate it if you know that you've handled it.
It'll obviously be checked in the background. Kevin Clancy is the VAR for today, and it's Levitt's shot, took a neck and just was going quickly, and we're going to have a late change for St Mirren. Brian McLaughlin.
Yeah, Ryan Strain is going to be coming off. Player who's just really quickly put his jersey on there is number 2, James Bolton. Whether this is running down the clock, I thought they may have added actually on an additional minute for the goal being scored, but Gavin Duncan says no, still 5 minutes to go, but that's another change. Bolton on, replacing Strain.
Hibs having clawed their way back into this game, hit with that sucker punch 2 minutes from the end of the 90. Alex Greaves, tremendous header, and now Stevenson takes a throw in. Bolton on the summer signings for St Mirren, and Hanlon goes long to Lafondra. Newell heads it up towards the edge of the box. St Mirren get the free kick, and that will be joyous, and you can see Stephen Robinson gesturing, just saying to Greg Kiltie, get yourself up here. And well, St Mirren, as you say, Stephen, they would have been probably content with a draw the way things were shaping up, the way Hibs had all the momentum.
Just when Alex Grieve initially at 2-0 is over that ball with the breakaway, you'd have been mad to think that this game would end up at 2 each, and then at 2 each you're thinking there's only one winner here, and at best for St Mirren it's a draw. To go and snatch it at the end, amazing, and what a surprise for the travelling fans in the end up.
Yeah, they were all sitting down very quiet and glum-faced, and then all of a sudden they were jumping for joy. St Mirren throw here on the near side. We've played 2 of the added 5 minutes. Hibs with 3 minutes to find yet another equaliser. Fraser is up, he's going to take this throw in midway through the Hibs half. He finds the chest of Kiltie, who controls really nicely, and he's going to take this into the corner flag, and he's got 2 Hibs players there, and one of them, Lewis Stevenson, wins the ball, and it's cleared downfield, but only as far as St Mirren, and then falls for Grieve on the edge of the box. He's going to try and win the free kick. Hanlon comes through and wins the ball cleanly, and then it's sent down the field, but there's no Hibs players. Lafondra and Doidge will chase it. Gogic gets there, passes it off, and here come Hibs. Long ball forward, looking for Doidge. Right at the back though for Bolton, the new signing. Gets a first touch, hooks it down the field, the centre half. Right centre half can play it right back as well, and David Marshall has the ball at his feet. Hibs with 2 minutes to try and find something. They found 2 goals in this second half to bring themselves level, but St Mirren, and their Grieve has just been tripped there by Fish as he ran into the Hibs half to try and retrieve the ball on the far side, and it's going to be a free kick, and that is exactly what St Mirren are looking for. Up the pitch, free kick, eat up a few more seconds. They lead 3-2.
It's a really stupid foul for Fish to give away. St Mirren will be absolutely delighted.
Lazy defending from Fish, probably lucky to get away with a yellow card, but absolutely priceless running from Alex Grieve. From potentially seeing out the game last couple of minutes, and now spending the time in Hibs half.
And free kick, and they're not going to put this in the box. They only play her up. There's no one in the box. Kiltie's right on the edge. They're just going to play this short. They go back to Taylor, the centre half. It just goes back to the goalkeeper. We're into the final minute of the 5 added here at Easter Road. St Mirren leading by 3-2, heading for opening day victory. Stephen Robinson heading for a first opening day victory in the Scottish top flight. He's heading for a first victory at Easter Road at the 9th attempt. But is there one last twist in the tail? St Mirren with a throw in midway through the Hibs half. Throws it to the feet of Kiltie, who hits the deck. Jago's in, trying to take it off Kiltie, who's back in his feet. Ewan's in there trying to win the ball, and St Mirren win the free kick right on the far side. And Hibs have 30 seconds, and time seems up for Hibernian.
brilliant work there from Greg Kiltie. He's not always a starter for St Mirren, but he's so reliable, can play a few different roles for St Mirren, and I think he's been excellent again today.
Word is reaching us that we're going to have an extra minute for the goal, because goal celebrations, that's all added to the added time. That's the guidance from IFAB and UEFA implemented this season in the Premiership, so Hibs will have a further minute. It's another throw in to St Mirren on the far side. They're almost in line with the Hibs box. They're just going to throw this to Grieve, who moves towards the corner flag. He's tussling with Fish, and he actually gets it away to Tanzer on the left hand side, who takes it by Yuan. He's not even going to try and get this in the box. He's just going to take it onto the quadrant of the corner flag, and there's a tussle with Newell, I think, on the far side, and it goes behind for a throw in right in the corner. Hibs with 40 seconds or so to try and find another equaliser. They trail by 3 goals to 2 here on Sports Sound. What a game we've been treated to here at Easter Road. But St Mirren win the ball now illegally. Free kick for Hibs midway through their own half, and they're going to get everyone up here. Marshall's going to take this free kick, and he's going to just shell it long, and this is the last chance for Hibernian to snatch a point on the opening day of the season. What a game it's been. Is there one last twist in the tail? Marshall goes long with the right foot, but it's straight down the throat of Richard Taylor. Unconvincing clearance straight to Yuan. He's played it out to Lafondra, right hand side of the box for Hibernian. He's going to get the cross in. It's lofted up towards Doidge and Hanlon. Header, pinball in the box. Eventually St Mirren get it away, and there is the full-time whistle. The St Mirren players raise their hands above their heads. Greg Kiltie punches the sky. The fans at Easter Road, the home fans, get up, they head for the exits. What a game we've been treated to. St Mirren had all of the first half. Mark O'Hara's penalty after Kiltie was tripped. That was the opening goal as O'Hara rolled it in. Then Toyosi Olasanya, a late addition to the St Mirren lineup after Mandron pulled out in the warm-up. He got in behind and calmly stroked beyond Marshall to give St Mirren a 2-0 half-time advantage. Hibs were all over the place at that point. They didn't even start the second half particularly well, but they slowly came into it. Adam Lafondra was pivotal, and he got them one back on the counter. Doidge squared, he stuck it past Hemming, it low into the corner, and then Hibs had all the momentum at that point and finally got the equaliser. Doidge turned in Yuan's cross first time, and it seemed there was only going to be one winner. If there was going to be a winner at that stage, it was going to be Hibernian. But St Mirren just one counter-attack up the right-hand side. Cross in, fantastic cross on the right hand side, straight onto the head of Alex Grieve with 2 minutes of the 90 remaining. The substitute planted it beyond Marshall, and St Mirren held on for a fantastic victory. A first win for Stephen Robinson as manager at Easter Road, a first on the opening day of the season. What a game we've been treated to. It's finished here at Easter Road. Hibernian 2, St Mirren 3.
What an afternoon for St Mirren. We are going to continue. And you're just going to have to make sure you're tuned in to the right output. So 810 medium wave if you're on the old-fashioned radio, or BBC Radio Scotland Extra. That's what you'll need if you want to hear the conclusion of Sports Sound. We'll get reaction from both teams, and we'll reflect on what has been a wonderful afternoon for St Mirren. If you want to hear your request for Gary Innes, you're going to have to make sure you're tuned into FM, and you'll get that after the 5 o'clock news. So football on medium wave and Extra, the rest of the programming on FM. And we are continuing, of course, from here at Easter Road, where the jubilant St Mirren players are making their way off the pitch. They've been across to celebrate with the fans. There were huge celebrations right on the full-time whistle from the goalkeeper Zach Hemmings, with Richard Taylor and Alex Gogic. A big, huge embrace between the three of them as they absolutely overjoyed at having starting the campaign, not just with 3 points, but having come to Easter Road, which clearly will be seen by many as a tricky place to come, having come here and got the victory and started the season off in the best manner possible. Wonderful start for St Mirren. They win by 3 goals to 2. They join Celtic, Hearts and Kilmarnock on the 3 point mark after just the first game of the 23-24 season. One or two of the players actually still across there, still celebrating, just making their way back now. And St Mirren will get into that dressing room to reflect on a job well done. We'll hear from the manager Stephen Robinson, and we'll hear from the Hibernian camp as well. I don't know if it's going to be Lee Johnson or indeed Jamie McAllister as it was before half time, but we'll certainly get reaction to what has been a hugely disappointing start to this new campaign for the Capital Club. No such concerns, Stephen McGinn, for St Mirren. In the end, a bit of smash and grab, but my goodness, it made for an exciting afternoon.
Yeah, a brilliant game, but what an unbelievable performance in the start of the season for St Mirren. I know it's easy to say, from losing the first goal, they lost their way, but they had hardly put up a foot wrong up to that point. And the best teams in this country, that 20-25 minute spell they had, where Hibs had them on the ropes, that can happen to the best teams in the country here. What they did was they held strong, they didn't wilt, they didn't concede that third goal, and when Hibs switched off, they didn't track back quite as quickly as they had been doing. They sensed the opportunity, and it took a real bit of quality from Greg Kiltie, an unbelievable cross, and almost says to Alex Grieve, come and score the winner here.
Yeah, and he's not a regular goal scorer. I mean, he's contributed a few, but he's never looked like Endo, who's going to get you 10, 15 goals a season. But my goodness, that was a wonderful finish.
I mean, the cross puts it in a plate for him. It was almost harder to miss. Not taking anything away from Alex Grieve, but the cross at that time in the game, for the work that Greg Kiltie put in, it's a match-winning cross.
Yeah, John, it was a thing of beauty, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic goal, counter-attack, the perfect counter-attack into the goalkeeper's arm, quick distribution up here on the right, ball out wide, and a great delivery, and an outstanding header. Great from St Mirren's point of view, but disappointing from Hibs' point of view. There was two defenders in the box, one striker, and it lands on his head. But again, it was a pinpoint cross, so all credit to Al. Would always say the delivery made the goal.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that sometimes there can be the danger of that happening, where you're the team with the momentum, you've been 2-0 down, you've been outplayed, but suddenly you're back in it, you're starting to get the crowd on your side, you've scored a couple of really fine goals. Any thoughts of losing the third goal almost vacate your mind because you're completely concentrating on scoring at the other end?
Well, that's the danger in football. You switch off for a second and you can concede a goal, but at that moment in time there was only one team that looked like it was getting the third goal, the winning goal, and that was Hibs. And it actually came from a Joe Newell out on the right hand side, putting a left footed cross. He put it too close and he put it into the goalkeeper's hand, and all of a sudden, 10 seconds later, it's in the back of your net. But that's football. It can be a cruel game. Reality is Hibs probably played for 30 minutes of the 90, and that's not enough to get 3 points in this league. They had a poor first half, all over the pitch, not good enough. Poor performances, looked a little bit heavy-legged, I thought, first half, but second half, manager made a few changes, big changes, and they were much better in the second half. Got to identify Lafondra. I thought that was a big turning point in the momentum in the game. Stuck Christian Doidge up there on first half, and up until the 60th minute he was flicking it on to nobody. All of a sudden he had a partner next to him, Lafondra, sniffing about, good movement, and the goal came from a combination of those two. So little Lafondra, I think he had a good 30 minutes and made a difference. All of a sudden the St Mirren back three were looking edgy, and it spread. And I think everybody in the whole stadium thought when Hibs got the equaliser, it was Hibs that was going to go on and win the game, but it was not to be.
I guess Lafondra, he'll be 37 later in the year. You're not going to get 90 minutes from him week in, week out, are you? But you've got to use him sparingly and effectively like that.
I think he's proved today that he's going to be a valuable substitute coming on. 30 minutes to go, he looked lively, looked sharp. I thought his attitude was excellent. There was a couple of poor balls, looked like they were going to roll out. He sprinted, kept them in, and he's backing into centre halves, getting free kicks. He looked hungry, looked like he had desire, and he got his goal, which is always important for a striker.
But it was Hibernian, having got back on level terms, who then had the huge disappointment right at the end, and we've talked about that fantastic finish. The cross from Kiltie, the header from Alex Grieve, who guided it past him. It was a rare 40 forward in that second half. Just didn't materialise in the way we had anticipated, Stephen. We were talking about half-time, where you were saying that you're going to have so many opportunities to spring Olasanya because Hibs are going to be trying to push forward. But actually, St Mirren really didn't get out of their own half for quite a long time.
No, he really tired. If he were able to do what he did in that first half for 95 minutes, I'm not sure he's still a St Mirren player. I'm not sure he was out on loan at Arbroath last season. He definitely tired. I don't think Alex Grieve doesn't have that ability to stretch the defence in the same way as Olasanya. I do think there is that bit of negativity within you that says, right, we have the game won, we're okay here, we're sitting in. So in that aspect, you maybe don't attack quite in the same way, don't play that pass, maybe take the extra pass. But what it let Hibs do was Paul Hanlon enjoyed the game much more in the second half. Will Fish enjoyed the game more in the second half. They were able to get the ball out quicker. The midfielders were picking it up higher, and they definitely needed to defend. But as I said, as a Hibs player, you're probably thinking when St Mirren have the ball there, when Zach Hemming's got the ball in the hands and he throws it out, you're just waiting for St Mirren to give up the ball and then attack again. You're maybe not running quite as hard back as you're thinking, I want to be here when we win this ball back so that I can put the ball back in the St Mirren box. But teams at this level can punish you. If you switch off, if you get lazy, if you think, I don't quite need to run back, guys like Greg Kiltie have got the quality to pick you off.
And just picking up on what Stephen Robinson had said earlier in the programme, that's just 37 points required now then for safety. I mean, if they play like they did in that first half, and if they're able to take goals in the way that they did towards the end there, they're going to have more than enough to be comfortable, aren't they?
Yeah, and especially that they've been brilliant in Paisley under Stephen Robinson. A real tough place for teams to go and get points. They got a lot of their points in Paisley last year, so to start the season when the away form wasn't great last year, to start it off at a tough place to come with 3 points, it's a real positive start for them.
Sure is. Just the highlights, Sports Scene highlights 7:15 on BBC Scotland. Just watching Jonathan and Michael trying to convince a steward that it was all right for them to make them. Michael's looking like the milk tray man, where he's got his polo neck on again this afternoon. It probably cost more than my house, but there you go. Do look out for the highlights tonight, 7:15 on the BBC Scotland channel. And hey, it's a game worth watching, John, isn't it? Plenty to enjoy for the viewers.
It is for St Mirren fans.
You're a football man. You love football. You love entertaining. You love goals.
True.
Just didn't want so many of them to be in the Hibs net. So does that continue to be an issue for Hibs? We talked about the fact they were fine, generally speaking, at the top end of the part, not perhaps quite so effective, consistent, efficient at the back. Does it look like that could be the same again?
Well, they were very poor the first half an hour. We identified Del Ferrier right back position was a weakness. He's not a natural right back. He's a midfield player asked to play there, and he was under all sorts of problems. Balls over the top, his distribution he was giving away was flustered. So that was a big decision for the manager. 1, picking him. 2, making a decision after 29 minutes that he's got to be replaced, and it was replaced. But defensively Hibs were poor, conceding 3 goals at home. You won't win many games if you concede 3 goals at home. The positive, if you're looking for positives, was the second half was much better. It couldn't be much worse than the first half. They stuck at it, got the goal, 2-1, and then there was momentum. They turned, all of a sudden you seen energy, and they were passing the ball better. I thought in the first half we were playing far too many long balls up to Christian Doidge, who's isolated on his own, not playing with a partner. 3 central defenders round about him. What's he supposed to do? Flicks it on. He had a central defender that's dropping off to pick up the flick on. So that wasn't working for Hibs. However, second half, when he did continue to play little clips up to his head, he had Lefondre scavenging round about and making little runs in behind him and coming across the face of him. So Hibs have got to learn from that. If you've got one central striker up the top, don't just keep launching it up to Doidge. I don't think that's going to be fruitful for them.
In some ways, does that performance, that game, the way it all panned out, does it sum up in many ways Hibs under Lee Johnson? I touched earlier on the fact that there were so many opportunities, so many moments we thought it's about to happen and it's never just quite taken off.
Yeah, and I don't think Hibs fans will accept that this season with the amount of money that's spent in the team. I'm not really sure how a team that's best formation is 4-3-3, they don't have a right back on the books that the manager trusts. I think that's a worry starting the season. I thought in the first leg in Andorra when the team came in, I thought it was strange that they were starting another season with Rocky Bashiri at centre half and Lewis Miller at right back, who was quite obvious the manager wasn't a major fan of both. So I think they've got a bit of work to do before the transfer window shuts in terms of assembling a full squad capable of finishing third.
Yeah, I suppose in some ways, I mean, we are reaching. Look, you can reach the point where we're getting towards the end of that window. You've still got the guts of a month to go. But you're kind of hoping, John, aren't you, by this stage that you've actually got the squad in, you've got people settled, you're you're really looking to start putting your best team out there.
Yeah, 100%. By this time, you would expect to have all your signings in, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. He's watching the games now. The manager will be aware that there's an issue at the right back. He has to find a right back. If he's not got one in the club, he's got to buy one or find one elsewhere. But I don't think it's a good idea starting the season with a midfielder playing at right back, and a right back that was proved today that he's not up to the task at this level at right back.
I think if you're a scout from another team in the league, if you're a manager coming to watch, if you're a manager or a scout from Luzerne who are about to play Hibs, you're identifying Del Ferrier as a weakness, but you're also identifying the fact that if he's playing there, it means that the manager doesn't trust a replacement either. So it is an area of the park that teams are going to look to exploit.
And of course that game that Stephen mentioned there, Luzerne, is 7:45 kick-off. It's back here at Easter Road on Thursday evening. It's live on the BBC Scotland channel, live on Sportsound as well, also on the radio. Rosenborg against Hearts, which kicks off at 6 o'clock. Europa Conference third qualifying round, and last time round in the competition, of course, they had the home leg and they very comfortably took care of the Andorrans. This will be a different kettle of fish on Thursday night, John. One at Luzerne were clearly going to be an awful lot better than the Inter were, and Hibs going into it, and once again having to prove something. I suppose they had to come from behind to beat the Andorran side. They're going to have to show an awful lot more in terms of winning that game on Thursday night, you'd anticipate.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Lucerne, they'll be a full-time team, professionals. There'll be much better quality in the previous round, and Hibs will have to be better as well, have to be better than they've played certainly the first 45 minutes. If they turn up and put in a performance like that, then I'm sure they'll concede a few goals at that level in Europe. So the manager's got a lot of work to do to get the players up for Thursday. Nothing better than a European run, but it's going to be difficult. They've got to make sure they get tighter at the back. I'm sure he'll be working on the back four. It was frustrating for the manager today. Was you've got two wingers on the pitch in that first half, and neither of them contributed anything in the final third. No deliveries, no shots on targets. They went through the middle far too often. And we talked before the game, I thought, two quick wide players. So if you've got quick wide players, you want to feed them, you want to isolate them, try and create 1v1 situations in wider areas, and they never done that. Johan got a fair bit of the ball early in the game, but he was off it completely. He had the first 45 minutes to completely forget giving the ball away, bad decisions. And the thing that worried me a little bit, Johan, in the first half, was his application when he lost the ball. When the ball was round about him, he wasn't sprinting flat out to press. He's got to add that to his game. He's got to be a better defender for the team. It's not just football. It's not just when you get the ball at your feet, are you going to do something for your teammates? When you're out of possession, are you putting their fullbacks, those centre halves, under pressure, blocking them, stopping them playing balls forward? And he never done that. It looked like he was half asleep in the first half. So the manager's got to get into him, show him video analysis, show him his reactions when the ball's round about him, when he loses the ball. The ball was bouncing off him, so it was a bad 45 for him. Thankfully, he definitely improved in the second half. But for Hibs to win in Europe, they need their wide players to contribute.
I think in hindsight, I don't know, when you lose a game, you don't win a game, you look back and say, I should have did this. That makes sense now, after the game obviously, but probably Martin Boyle maybe was a game too far off the back of the other night, and how important he'll need to be on Thursday. Would it have been maybe more sensible to introduce him off the bench? Easy for me to say in hindsight, because when you see the team and you see Ewan at one side, Martin Boyle at the other side, you're thinking St Mirren have got a lot of work to do in their hands. But
you're 100% right. That's the manager been thinking. He scored during the week, he's buzzing. But the reality is he hasn't played much in 6 months. Should have started him on the bench, bring him on the 30 minutes to go when the opposition's tired, he's fresh. These are all decisions that would have been talked about in the coach's room, but it's hard to split up a team that's won 6-1 midweek. Everybody wants to play, but he did look a little bit flat today, Martin Boyle, but it's only natural.
Oh, absolutely, and we talked about the fact that the importance of him to the team. You're right, you kind of can imagine them weighing that up, but actually getting sucked into the fact that he scored twice, he's going to be absolutely buzzing, and he'll want to play.
And the type of character, as you say, you get in at 8:30 in the morning and it's as if he's been up for 12 hours. You know what I mean? He'll be showing no signs of fatigue Friday or Saturday come into this game, but probably over the piece, his loads maybe needing to be managed over the next few weeks.
Well, he's sending him off after about an hour or so. Hopefully he will be back firing in all cylinders for Hibs on Thursday night. Ewan did get more involved in the second half. He did an effort saved. He contributed to the equaliser from Christian Deutsch. Going to be interesting to see just how much Lee Johnson looks to use Adam Lafondra in the coming weeks. He certainly made a contribution coming on from the bench, and he and Deutsch linking up really nicely for the goal which brought Hibernian back into it. They were to equalise a bit later, but they were to lose it right at the very end as Alex Grieve guided Greg Kilty's cross beyond the despairing hand of David Marshall. A 3-2 win for St Mirren to kick off their Premiership season for 2023-24. Reaction to come from both Lee Johnson and, of course, from the triumphant St Mirren manager Stephen Robinson. Hopefully we'll be hearing from Brian McLaughlin before too long. He's down there at the end of the tunnel, just waiting to hear from the sides. A reminder that Thursday night, the European Action Conference League, Hibernian Lucerne to follow the earlier kick-off of Rosenborg against Hearts. Wednesday night is Rangers against Servette. That's the Champions League third qualifying round. So we'll have live coverage of that both on Sportscene on the telly and Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland. Of course, the highlights, 7:15 tonight from, it'll be largely this afternoon's match, and it was very, very high-class entertainment. So you get the action from that, plus the best of the moments from the 5 games yesterday. First weekend of the Premiership season done and dusted, pretty tight over a fair chunk of it, I suppose. Celtic and Hearts, the only multiple goal winner. Celtic 4-2 against Ross County. Hearts with a 2-0 win. I guess Hibs will already be looking at that. Aberdeen have dropped points. Hearts have gone and won at St Johnstone. Hibernian have dropped points. We're talking about them. Those three potentially battling it out for third spot behind Celtic and Rangers. But I guess little moments like Aberdeen drawing at Livy, that Hibs losing here. The other sides, those with pretensions, John, to make it up into the top 5, to break into that closed shop, as many of us see it. These scorelines must give them real hope for the coming weeks.
Without a doubt, I think there's always, at this stage of the season, you always get surprise results as well, but there's no easy game. That's the reality. There's so many teams fairly close together. But as I said, I think Aberdeen, Hibs and Hearts should be the teams fighting it out for third, fourth and fifth positions. Should be, but on that first half performance, you wouldn't be saying that watching Hibs today. But it's early in the season. They've got the new striker to come in, Dylan Vent, big signing from Holland. So hopefully he'll come in maybe midweek. I don't know if he's eligible to play on Thursday. But, they've signed him, so he's obviously going to bring something different at the top of the pitch.
We talked about St Mirren and the potential for them to have yet another good season, and certainly the feeling that they could at the very least be targeting a top 6 finish. But if they can come here to Easter Road and win like this, Stephen, that's going to give them the self-belief that they too could be looking, as you were touching on earlier in the programme, potentially troubling the European spots.
Yeah, an eye-catching result, but the best bit was the performance of the attacking players. I think Stephen Robinson's teams are always really organised, really hard to score against. The one doubt I had about them was where the goals came from, what the new attacking players like. Between Olasanya and McMenamin, look like reborn, and certainly in Olasanya's case. McMenamin looks a real solid bit of business. It's not often St Mirren buy a player, so it's always a risk when you pay money for a player, but it's a player that the manager and the assistant manager know well from the Irish setup. So it's almost one you think that they've nailed in terms of when they go out and spend the money on him. They encourage the board to spend the money. And if I was a St Mirren director here and I'm looking at his performance, I'm thinking the manager's got us a good one here. That's 75 grand well spent, because he looks a real threat. And that gives me the greatest optimism for the season in terms of could they maybe split the top 5, because at home they're good at home, over the piece they're good defensively, but the attacking performance today certainly caught the eye.
Yeah, it did, and I suppose that fee paid for Conor McMenamin largely explains why they have been the least active of the Premiership side in the transfer market, because probably blew most of the transfer budget on that one thing.
I think they spent well over the last few seasons. They really had a push to make the top 6 and to Europe, but they have built a solid squad. I mean, they have lost a few experienced campaigners over the time, Declan Gallagher, Joe Shaughnessy, but they looked a real settled side there today.
Yeah, there was energy. There was real energy about St Mirren. There was certainly battling for the cause during that first 45 minutes. In actual fact, although talking about the fact that they were very good then. They were under just no concern at all, I suppose. No real worries for the first 20-25 minutes of that second half. Yes, they were having to defend, but they were coping very comfortably with pretty much everything that Hibernian could throw at them. It wasn't until Lafondre managed to finish off that really good move, actually, really fine move, that suddenly St Mirren had something to worry about. In the end, though, they came through. They got the victory. Alex Grieve with a glancing header. A 3-2 win for St Mirren here at Easter Road, and they have started the season in absolutely just perfect fashion. Just exactly what they would have been hoping for. They were very much in control for the largest part. Yes, they had to dig deep, and they got the winner in the 89th minute, but it is 3 points back along the road to Paisley, and it's finished off what has been a fair old weekend, actually, across the Premiership. Of course, early and later matches yesterday, the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and now St Mirren rounding it off. There will be plenty Sundays, certainly in the coming weeks. Hearts and Hibernian both playing on Sunday next week. They're up both at 3 o'clock, and that will follow Aberdeen against Celtic. There will be a lot of Sundays. Of course, Aberdeen already guaranteed to be playing group football in Europe, either in the Europa League or the Conference League, so there will be Sundays for Aberdeen, and if Hearts and Hibernian or Hibernian make it through the groups, then they too will be playing Sunday. So it's going to be a regular diet of big matches on Sundays, so let's hope they're all as entertaining as this one has been here this afternoon. So St Mirren taking the point. We're just waiting for reaction from Stephen Robinson and indeed from the Hibernian camp as well. We'll bring that to you just as soon as we possibly can. Over the course of the 6 matches, you look at those results, John. I suppose it's the Kilmarnock one that just stands out as the scoreline of the weekend in the top flight.
Without a shadow of a doubt, that's the one that probably nobody expected. I think probably expected a tough game for Rangers down there on the AstroTurf, first game of the season. But I think most people in Scotland were expecting Rangers with their new signings and the big crowd behind them to go down there and certainly pick up the three points. But Kilmarnock, Derek McInnes, absolutely delighted. Got their tactics correct, attitude spot on, caused Rangers problems, and got the goal at a good time, gave them something to hang on to the last 25 minutes. Rangers not creating too many clear-cut chances. So Michael Beale will be a little bit disappointed, to say the least, and the Rangers fans. 3 points already behind Celtic, so pressure's on already.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of laughing there, and it does sound absolutely ridiculous, Stephen, after just 90 minutes of this season, but this is Scottish football, and we actually know that there's a fair degree of truth in what John has just said.
Yeah, I was driving home from the Falkirk game, listening to the show, and we're speaking about the pressure on Rangers before the ball had even kicked, never mind being defeated. So that is the nature of the football here, and why it's so intense and why we all love it so much.
That's certainly intense. I don't know how much Rangers will be loving it right now off the back of that defeat, but the opportunity comes around very quickly, doesn't it, to try to get things sorted out. They are going to need to certainly get more, I guess, from those new signings who are just, some of them just in the door. They're certainly going to have to prove that they are worthy, capable of playing for Rangers and of meeting the demands. So a real shocker for them, but yeah, Kilmarnock, with all due respect to St Mirren, Stephen, I think you would probably agree, Kilmarnock picking up the result of the weekend.
Yeah, result of the weekend. I know, listening to Derek McInnes after games last season, he spoke about how it was all about just securing the status this year. We'll be better next year. And at times last year, it was a struggle. They weren't quite the Derek McInnes team you'd expect in the Premier League, and we've seen in the Premier League for years and years. Yesterday was an example of a Derek McInnes team. At times that was his Aberdeen team at its best. All legs, energy, aggression, keeping you honest at all times, and well-deserved victory by no stretch of the imagination. Were they hanging on at any real point in the game?
Incidentally, just getting news through that Luzerne, who Hibernian play on Thursday night, have lost 2-1 to St Gallen this afternoon in the Swiss League. Just 3 games in, it's their first defeat of the season. Hibernian will no doubt be casting an eye over the 90 minutes that the opposition have played this afternoon, and hoping that will give them further preparation for what will unfold on Thursday. Yeah, so just going back, so Kilmarnock, absolutely. Gordon getting that victory. They've got off to an absolute fly. I think they're at Tynecastle next week to take on Hearts. Hibernian are away to Motherwell on the Sunday as well. And of course, it's the early kick-off as Aberdeen against Celtic. I'm talking an awful lot about that Aberdeen Livingston. Talked about Livingston and the fact that it's such a difficult place to go. I think people would have been looking at, and yes, John Collins saying that is a tough place to go, but if Aberdeen have serious hopes of being in third place as they were last season, it's the kind of fixture they have to be targeting to win, isn't it?
Well, I think as soon as the fixtures come out, they'll think first game, Livingston, they'll fancy going there and picking up 3 points, but they'll know it's never going to be an easy game there. Livingston have proved in the last few years that no team gets an easy game there. They're in your face, they make it hard for you, they're aggressive, and they've done ever so well, staying up, no problem, and not been in any relegation fights the last few years. Small budget, manager's done a terrific job there.
Yeah, from the Aberdeen point of view then, well, there, I suppose if we're looking at Rangers Celtic, Aberdeen are playing catch-up in terms of Hearts. They did that last season and overcame it, and of course, incredible recovery under Barry Robson and Steve Agnew to get that third spot. They will have the additional demands of Europe this season, and I know that they're still looking to add to the squad. There have been big changes, actually, at Pittodrie at Cormac Park over the course of the summer. But it's a tough start for them, Stephen. You know, they've gone to Livingston, they've got that 0-0 draw, but it's home to Celtic next Sunday.
Yeah, really difficult. Going to Livingston, especially, I think for the last few weeks, David Martindale spoke about the restraints he's got. I think he's maybe used that within his own dressing room to fire them up, to go back to Livingston at our very best, proving everyone wrong. We're going to be really hungry here, and a start for them against one of the big boys coming to town, let's upset them early doors. So it was a tricky start for Aberdeen. I think losing Ramadani so close to the start of the season, I think in an ideal world Barry Robson loses him maybe 3 or 4 weeks earlier, because I think he was a huge part of their turnaround last year. Potentially, I know Duke and Miofsky take a lot of the headlines, but potentially the player of the season for Aberdeen. So it was a huge loss in the eve of the season.
I'll just interrupt you quickly. Let's hear from Stephen Robinson live with Brian.
96 minutes of football, wasn't it?
And I'm grey because I've just banged a load of wax on it to hide how grey I am. Yeah, look, I thought first half we were excellent, really good. To come here and dominate like we did, to create the chances we did, the game potentially should have been over before half time. You're always going to have a fight back. You're always going to face pressure. You know, Hibs went very direct and long to Doidge, and he's a big threat. And credit to them, they came back into the game and showed the character. But the character of my players after that, you know, Zach makes a great decision to play out quickly, and it's a super cross from Greg and a great finish. And you know, I have to mention the 2 subs because Toy wasn't meant to start. A great movement from him. You know, he came out 2 minutes before the game. He's told he's starting. Thought he was excellent. He's come back a different man. And Alex Grieve, who would have been upset not to get a chance, and he's come on and scored the winner. So it's really pleasing. Shows how together we are as a football club, as a squad, and that's probably the most pleasing aspect for me. In terms of the change pre-match, how much does that upset your game plan in terms of what you're looking to achieve? Yeah, well, you spend all week with a certain way and what you're trying to do, and you know, we were very good during the week as well. We felt very confident, and then obviously with 2 different strikers, one that runs down the side, one who's a big target man. So it does change what you do, but as I say, credit to the players. They didn't feel sorry for themselves, and no excuses. Toy was ready to go, and you know, he more than proved that there, especially in the first half. And if he gets fitter and does what he's very good at, which is running in behind, then he's going to scare a lot of defences. You're 2-0 up and pretty comfortable. Hibs make a number of changes, and the crowd seemed to get the lift, and then they score the first goal. What was going through your mind then? Was it to try and hold on to that then, or you know, was it to try and get a third to actually kill the game off? Yeah, we made as many attacking changes as we could. We brought Keelan on to try and give us a bit more ownership in midfield because Hibs are going very direct. But you know, credit to them. You're coming to a really nice stadium, full, and a good side. You're going to face pressure at some stage. And we concede the 2 goals, they've got the momentum. So I think it speaks volumes for the character of my side. You can lie down and think, well, we'll feel sorry for ourselves, but they didn't. And for the goal, I mean, the quality from Greg Kiltie and the finish from Alex Grieve was top class. And as I say, Zach's decision to play out quickly when we could have just sat and maybe taken a point, but that's not the way we are. It's not the way we play. And you know, it shows the spirit and togetherness of the football club.
You start off the season then with a win on the road. You're at home next week against the new boys, Dundee. The pressure, whether it be pressure or not, is to keep the momentum going now in front of your own fans.
Yeah, and as I say, the realism has to be, first and foremost, stay in this division. Don't get too carried away and don't get too excited. And listen, fans are there to have expectations and get carried away, but I have to temper that and go, look, let's make sure we get the points on the board. It's a start with 3 points, and Dundee, I thought, were very good yesterday at times. They've got some very good players and recruited very well, so it'll be a very tough game for us.
I know there's still 3 weeks to go, the transfer window. Anything going to happen for you?
I don't know. I've asked the board for another striker, so we'll see what's available. If the club can back me, they will. There's no doubt about that. But there's a limitation. Everybody wants people to keep telling me we need 2 and 3 more positions, but it isn't a bottomless pit, and you have to work within your means, which I'm well aware of. And I think we've put together a very good squad.
Thanks, Stephen. Well done.
Cheers, Brian. Thank you.
I think that last part of the sentence just killed off any chances he's got of getting any more players in. He's just admitted he's got a very good squad. But he would still like another striker, and you can understand why he may well indeed want to add to the pool. But they've come here, they've done a great job, and you can hear the pride actually, Stephen, in his voice there. That players have come and done what they did.
Yeah, he's so proud. I mean, I give credit to him and his coaching staff. He says the boys are dealing with a change. We've prepped all week for Mandarin playing up front and the way we're going to approach the game and change, but they've got that message across to the players. I mean, the second goal, when you're Stephen Robinson tonight watching that goal back, you're thinking, you're almost patting yourself in the back, saying the message before the game was, now that Olasanya's playing, get it in behind quickly. Mark O'Hara's played the ball quickly, and before you know it, it's 2-0, and almost nearly took the game away in itself from Hibs. So what his players are doing, they're listening to him, they're taking on his information, and as I said, at 2:30, if he thought that Olasanya was going to be on the park, if he had time in his hands, he'd be trying to get the message in, hoping he'd enough time to get the message across. For it to happen 5 minutes before kick-off, and the players still take on the information and the results in a goal, he'll be so proud of them tonight.
Yeah, and it came through, and it's a kind of red letter day, as Thomas was telling us before, and never won here as a manager before. I think it was 8 attempts, so he's got that. He's never won on the opening day in the Premiership before. So 2 boxes very much ticked by Stephen Robinson. You said earlier, John, you like listening to Stephen. He always actually comes across as the type of manager to me who probably wouldn't be overcomplicating things. Probably quite good for the players.
He comes across as very honest. He's calm, he's calculated. I think he puts high demands on his players. I think he doesn't suffer slackers or lazy players. He wants everybody working their socks off. His team are very well organised. They get back into their shape as soon as they lose possession. Today in the first half, straight to a back 5, made it really difficult for Hibs wide players to get any possession of the ball. And Hibs actually played right into his hands, everything going down the throat, right down the middle, where they've got 3 big central defenders, and Hibs have got 1 central striker. So his game plan worked a treat for an hour, and then all of a sudden Hibs got the goal, and Hibs made a little change, and that made a difference, put them under pressure. And they'd been sitting at 2-2 thinking, I'll probably take 2-2, but the perfect counter-attack, an absolute clinical counter-attack, ball into the goalkeeper's hands and quick delivery, and it's just a perfect cross and a good header. So a great day's work for him, his first victory in the opening day of the season. He'll be a happy man tonight.
Yeah, he was saying that we could have just sat in, but that's not the way we play. I wasn't believing him, I must admit. The manager deep into the final minute or 2 of the game, and you've been paid back to 2-2. Would you not anticipate that the message coming from the dugout was...
I'd love to be a fly in the wall in that dugout when Greg Kilty's got the ball down there. Or maybe even as far back as Zach Hemmings throwing the ball out quickly. I'd love to see who was the one that broke rank and said, take it to the corner, or slow down.
Look, it's great when it works, isn't it? And you can stand there and you can smile and say, yeah, that's the boys, they've gone and done that. That's the way we play.
That's when it comes down to just the quality of player. If Greg Kilty's not as good as a player as he is, he crosses into David Marshall's hands. Maybe the next minute the ball's in the St Mirren box. So that's why you recruit good players. That's why you have full trust in good players.
Right, guys, look, thank you so much. Really enjoyed your company, Stephen McGinn and John Collins and Thomas Duncan, who had the commentary for us. Brian down there, still waiting for someone to emerge from Hibernian. We will get the interview at the website later, bbc.co.uk/sportscotland. You'll also see part of it on the telly on Sports Scene a little bit later. The highlights programme at 7:15, BBC Scotland. Remember, the Scottish Football Daily podcast every day, Monday to Friday. There's live European action on the telly and radio Wednesday and Thursday. Rangers Servette on Wednesday, Hibernian Luzerne, Rosenborg Hearts on Thursday. All details to come over the course of the week. But from me, Richard Gordon, and the rest of the team, at the end of this first weekend of the SPFL for 23-24, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll now join listeners to FM who are tuned in to your requests with Gary Innes.